Good morning, everybody. Just going live on Instagram right now. This is being recorded for the YouTube. Let's wait for everybody to come on. We're going to be talking about the full moon in Cancer today. Let me get it pulled up. Good morning. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Happy full moon. How's everybody feeling? Got to ask how everyone's feeling for a full moon in Cancer. All the moons approaching Jupiter right now. We had our full moon last night around 5 a.m. Eastern time, 2 a.m. Pacific time. I think it was like at 2:03. I think that's the exact time. I'm gonna pull up the chart right now. Happy New Year! Happy full moon! Happy, happy, happy! Even though most people are probably not feeling that way because it is Capricorn season. And we got a lot of Capricorn energy in the sky. Mercury just went into Capricorn yesterday on the 2nd. So if you aren't feeling like happy, 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 if you're not feeling all excited and, ambitious and looking forward to 2026, don't worry about it, okay? A lot of people aren't. We are dealing with the last of Saturn in Pisces. So these next two, like this is what I was explaining on Monday. What I was explaining on Monday is that Saturn is wrapping up in Pisces, and Saturn is going to be rules over Capricorn and Aquarius season. And so with Saturn at the last degrees of Pisces and Neptune, and Saturn and Neptune being so close together, Capricorn and Aquarius season is going to be about endings and closure and release and like culmination of things and kind of like wrapping up these like larger cycles. So, if you're not feeling like ready to start or begin something new, don't worry about it, okay? If you're not feeling that like energy. All right, hold on. Let me pull up the chart. So we have a full moon in Cancer today. I've been feeling it the last few days. Also, another beautiful thing is if you have clear skies wherever you're at, if you go out tonight, um, you will be able, if you look in the sky tonight, you'll be able to see the moon and Jupiter together. It'll be a nice, beautiful photo opportunity. Also, this is a very abundant full moon in general. So let me pull up the chart. Hold on. I keep talking about pulling it up and my mind and my mouth are going in different directions. Someone said they're mad because the clouds came in. I know it's been raining over here the last few days. I haven't been able to, I did, I was able to peek at the moon through the clouds, but I wasn't able to see it next to Jupiter. So, all right. How's everybody doing? Welcome. Thank you for being here. Let me make sure this is being recorded for, okay, cool. It's being recorded for the YouTube. Um, So, thank you. You guys like my polo? I have like official business today. Actually, it's not official business. I'm going to a drag show today. I don't know how official that is, but I'm going to a drag show later on for my friend's birthday. So, I got my tea over here. So, yeah, my dog is at the groomers right now getting a haircut. He needed it. Thank you. Everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I love you all so much. Grand Rising. Okay, let's talk about the full moon in Cancer. All right. I hope this moon brings me a baby. Oh, this is a, okay, yes. Okay, this is a beautiful full moon for procreation, for birth, for expansion. So, full moon in Cancer. What is a full moon? A full moon is about culmination and completion. Full moons are about realizations, illuminations. Full moons get us to move. This is a full moon in Cancer, which is a card. So, what is Cancer? Cancer is a cardinal sign. Cardinal meaning the beginning. So, Cancer is about initiation, right? So, the full moon in Cancer happens during Capricorn season, which is the beginning of winter. Okay. Cancer is a water sign. So, Cancer has a lot to do with emotions. It has a lot to do with sensitivity, with creation. It has also a lot to do with birthing things. Cancer is a sign of the mother. It's a sign of family. It's also the sign of emotional expression. It's also the sign of protection. Cancer also rules over property and real estate and homes or a living situation. The United States is a Cancer stellium. So I don't know if anyone knows the United States chart, but the United States is a Sag rising with an Aquarius moon in the third house, and they have an eighth house stellium in Cancer. So the United States has like Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, Venus, like all these planets in Cancer with an eighth house, with a seventh house Mars and Gemini. That's really messy. Um, So we can see how the United States is busy, got busy this full moon, right? We had this whole political event happen where the United States went into Venezuela and they ended up capturing Maduro and or Maduro, okay, I would say it properly. And so also it's really interesting because who else has Cancer placements? Well, Donald Trump does. Donald Trump has a Saturn Venus conjunction in Cancer. He actually might have Mercury in Cancer too. Hold on. I think so. I think he has an 8 degree Mercury in Cancer. Um, so he's activated for the full moon. So the United States and Donald Trump are activated for this full moon in Cancer. And what's so interesting about this full moon, which is going to be a big theme. Love and war are going to be a big theme for this full moon, okay? In general, love, why love? Because we have a full moon opposite Sun Venus in Capricorn. So we have this very interesting thing happening with this full moon. Yeah, Donald Trump does have Saturn, Venus, and Mercury in Cancer. So we have this really interesting thing happening with this full moon where we have the sun right in the like we have the sun right in the middle of Venus and Mars. So we have Mars at 14 degrees. This full moon's happening at 13 degrees, which is an Aries degree, which is a degree of war. 13 is ruled by Aries, which is ruled by Mars. We have Sun, Mars together. And then Venus at 12. So we have Venus, Sun, Mars, all sandwiched together in Capricorn, opposing the moon in Cancer at 13. Okay? So the Sun, Venus is the love piece of this full moon, where the Sun Mars opposite the moon and Mars opposite the moon for the full moon is the war piece, love and war. Okay. And Sun Mars has a lot to do with authority figures executing on plans, making changes, being assertive, enforcing their authority, right? It's so interesting because to me, Cancer is the homeland and Cancer is property, like real estate, but also our home, like our country, right? Like our boundaries, our borders. This is all Cancer. And so it's so fascinating that on a full moon in Cancer that is opposing Mars, we have the infiltration of a country's borders or boundaries. We have the attack on a leader, right? So Maduro is the president of Venezuela. With Sun Mars opposite the moon, there was an external authority, a foreign authority that came into the country and ended up to execute justice, and ended up to bring him to justice. Ended up what do you call this? Abducting him? Was he abducted? I don't know. Is that an abduction? I don't know. What's the correct terminology? What's the correct political terminology for what happened to Maduro? He was abducted. I don't know. I think that's what I think he was abducted. So that has everything to do with Sun Mars opposite the moon, okay? But then also Sun Venus together, right? Opposite the moon. He was captured. There we go. That's a good word. Yeah, it's a good neutral word, captured. Um, being brought to justice. So what we're gonna see abducted, yeah. So what we're gonna see is I want you guys to be mindful of the Sun Mars thing together in the for this full moon cycle. So this full moon cycle is gonna be around for 2 weeks. Um and I want you guys to be mindful of your bosses, your leaders, your authority figures, your father, also children, attacks on children, or children going through difficult things, just because the sun and Mars are together. Okay. The thing we got to keep in mind is that the strongest planet in Capricorn right now is Mars. This is why on New Year's we had this fire in Switzerland. I don't know if you guys saw that fire that ended. It was like in Switzerland and it was in a wooden bar. It's so interesting because this the hotel or the bar that it happened in a bar at a hotel is primarily made of wood. And Capricorn is a sign of wood. Capricorn is a sign of buildings, of structures. Capricorn is the sign of things that have withstood the test of time or that have been around for a very long time. And Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, this energy is like 30-year cycles, things that happen in 30-year cycles. So, there could be things that are coming to completion or ending for you, right, in your life that you've been invested in for 30 years for like a Saturn cycle. So it could be like 7, 8 years, could be like 14, 15 years, could be like 21, 22 years, 30 years, where there's certain things that are wrapping up or coming to conclusion. But going back to what the hotel that I was or the bar fire in Switzerland, that has everything to do with Sun Mars. Mars being exalted in Capricorn. So Mars being the strongest planet in this formation in this stellium in Capricorn that's happening right now, right? The sun is weak in the sign of Capricorn because the sun is in the sign ruled by Saturn, right? Where Venus has, shared triplicity rulership. She doesn't mind being a Capricorn. It's an earth sign. She finds comfort in there. But Venus and Capricorn still under Saturn's energy. This has a lot to do with obligation. This has a lot to do with responsibility. This has a lot to do with commitment, expectations, boundaries, our own limitations. Also, goals, dreams, ambitions, Sun, Mars, Venus, people feeling very inspired or very motivated during this full moon cycle to initiate or start something new. But also right, the sun, Venus, Mars opposite this very sensitive moon in Cancer, this very delicate moon in Cancer, right? We may feel emotionally compelled to address something, who may feel emotionally assertive during this full moon. There may be some things that come to light with the family, with the home, with your job, with your leader, with, that are going to be about change or going to be about going in a new direction. So you could find out during this full moon cycle over the next 2 weeks that a family member is deciding to do something new or go in a new direction. You could find out that your job, your corporation, your boss, whatever, wherever you're working at, it's going to be going in a new direction. They're going to be implementing something new. They're going to be hiring somebody new. There's something new coming in, okay? And we want to be mindful of this. We want to be mindful of this because Capricorn season is a season of initiation of big changes typically, especially because it is the fiscal new year. So we see a lot of like new financial things, right? Like people are getting ready to do their taxes, right? People are, companies are doing all their auditing and they're wrapping up like the last, their 2025 financially, and they're like starting something new, right? Or they're like going in a new direction. They're planning for 2026. So, big kind of job changes, structural changes, organizational changes. Like these are things that they're thinking about during this full moon cycle, but that's usually happening with Capricorn season. Okay, so these are things that we want to just be watch out for and be mindful of. Okay. Someone asked about a new job. There's gonna be a lot of people. Well, Mercury just entered Capricorn, and Mercury just entered a new sign. So Mercury entered an Earth sign, right? Mercury's gonna catch up, I believe, in the next couple weeks. Mercury's gonna catch up with Venus, Sun, and Mars. So we're gonna be getting a lot of messaging around work, jobs, things like this. Actually, I'm kind of feeling it more for the new moon. Yeah, it's gonna be more for the new moon in Capricorn. That's like gonna be at the end of, or it's gonna be, what is this? January 18th, I believe. I'm looking at January 18th. I think the new moon in Capricorn, we're gonna see more jobs. We're gonna have Mercury, Mars, Sun, Venus all together for the new moon. Um, well, Venus goes into Aquarius, but we're going to have Sun, Mercury, Mars all together. So I really do believe the new moon in Capricorn is when we're going to be seeing a lot of beginnings with new career directions, new job opportunities. Also, this new moon is going to be trining Uranus and Taurus. The new moon that's going to be happening on the 18th of January. Well, it depends on where you're at. It could be, oh, it's going to be the 18th. No, it's going to be the 18th. Um, it could also be the 17th, depending on where you're at in the world. But yeah, I think the new moon we're going to see a lot of new beginnings, more new beginnings with the new moon. That's going to be Mercury, Mars, Moon, Sun all together. Okay. But for the full moon in Cancer, there is this, full moons. This is a beautiful full moon to manifest. I just want to say this because Moon and Jupiter are together. So if you want to do any kind of manifestation ritual for this full moon, especially working with water, working with the moon, working with magic, or even like ancestral healing stuff, if you want to do any kind of like ancestral healing magic, that is great as well. Someone said there's an orb above me. Oh, that's super cool. You should do that. This is going to be a very blessed, opportunistic full moon, though. I do want to say this. There are going to be some beautiful, abundant, lucky blessings coming in for some people because the full moon is going to be right next to Jupiter. Also, this is just a general breakdown of the full moon and of the transits. These aren't particular to you, okay? So, if you want to make if you want to make this live or this full moon about you, you totally can. But for this is just general information. So I don't want you guys to internalize or take anything personal or think I'm like referencing you, okay? I will be answering your guys' questions, obviously, because this is an ongoing conversation. But if you want very specific information about your chart, it's always best to look at your chart and see how this full moon applies to you. Or you can always book a reading with me, but I am booked out until like February right now. So, okay, so I probably wouldn't be able to give you a full moon reading on this full moon because you're probably gonna have to wait a month to get a reading with me anyway. So, but you could take a look at your own chart to see what sign or what house you have Cancer in. Because we have the moon, which is the ruler of Cancer, and we have Jupiter, who's exalted in Cancer, in your Cancer house. So this is where you want to take a look at where there could possibly be some manifestations or new beginnings and things like this, okay? But there's probably going to be some tension between your Cancer house and your Capricorn house for this full moon, mainly because Sun and Mars are kind of agitators for this full moon, and the Sun and Mars are opposite the moon. So this can bring a lot of family drama. This can bring a lot of like, tension and conflict within the family, okay? There's gonna be people addressing like, like, I don't want to be with you anymore. I can't live with you anymore. This thing happened in the past. You never apologized to me. You know what I mean? Like kind of like family drama stuff. Just be on the lookout for that with Mars opposite the moon. Fourth house, baby. Can't wait. Yeah, I love that for you. Oh, yeah, fourth house. Yeah, fourth house full moon. That's about relocation and moving. The full moon degree is at 13. Aries degree, which is why we saw a war or why we saw some war stuff happen with Venezuela and the United States, which is one of the things I was talking about in the beginning. Um, so a full moon at a Cancer degree, a full moon opposite Mars, Sun Mars together in Capricorn with Venus. We can see and Mars being the strongest planet because he's exalted in Capricorn, right? We can see this conflict between Sun, Mars, and the moon, right? So overstepping of boundaries. Also, people kind of getting emotionally hurt, emotionally rejected. That could be a theme with Sun, Venus, Mars together. Kind of like breakups and separations in relationships. Some people fighting for a relationship, trying to salvage it, trying to save it. The other thing I wanted to talk about, which I didn't cover over the week ahead live, which I don't know how I missed it because I even like was like, am I missing anything? Am I missing anything? But I still missed it. Chiron goes direct today. So Chiron, the wounded healer, goes direct at 22 degrees of Aries, and Chiron is making an aspect to Jupiter in Cancer, who's retrograde, and the moon and Jupiter are like right next to each other, right? So with Chiron going forward during this full moon cycle, Chiron being the wounded healer, and also if you put the full moon on the rising, what you get is a 10th house Chiron. There's um there's going to be a lot of healing around anger and a lot of healing around family woundedness. Like, kind of like forgiveness and compassion, and also like confessions from the mother, confessions from the father, confessions from the children around apologies and around what happened in the past and around wanting things to be better, wanting to move forward. We're going to have a lot of these beautiful healing conversations, but also people are going to be feeling a little irritated and a little agitated and a little assertive, and they're going to be feeling like they need to get something off their chest. So, because Mars opposite the moon and the Chiron going direct. So, I think the other thing we got to be mindful of is people being very emotionally reactive and very emotionally sensitive during this full moon cycle, and people who are hurting wanting to address or express that hurt in some type of way, right? What is the big axiom? What is the big thing that we say? Hurt people, right? So what you may find is that there are people that are hurting during this full moon cycle that they want to address their pain in some type of way. So that can look like a projection. That can look like a projection of pain or woundedness, but that can also look like, them addressing something or bringing something up that's been hurting for a long time. So this could also be for you. So if you're feeling this, if there's certain things or wounds that you've been holding on to for a very long time, and you have woundedness that's kind of like burrowed itself into your like womb, especially if you're a woman, If you have woundedness that's embedded itself in your womb space, in your, reproductive organs, you have it in your chest, you've been carrying it in your heart and your chest, you know, you got, you got trauma, you got your mother trauma. Okay. That stuff is gonna come up. I was like thinking of like the breast, the stomach. These are all parts of the body ruled by cancer, the stomach, the breast, the womb. Um, and when you have emotional trauma, especially ancestral trauma that comes from the mother's lineage, from the family, that tends to get internalized or show up in the breast for women, in the reproductive organs, and also in the stomach area. Okay. The right, and this is a very sensitive part of the body, especially for women, okay? Because women have, fallopian tubes and they have a womb, and you guys grow babies, and you guys are just magical beings, and you guys literally are, you call a soul through in your body. Like you open up a portal in your body to pull a soul through when you give birth. Like it's you guys are quite amazing. But these areas of the body are going to be sensitive, and these areas of the body are where we tend to store trauma, ancestral trauma, emotional trauma, especially through the mother's lineage. So if you have mother's energy, if you have like mother trauma, if you have a wounded ancestry of, mother-daughter woundedness, mother-grandmother woundedness, if you have, just this kind of wounded woman narrative, victim woman narrative that runs in your lineage, there's going to be a lot of healing that's possible during this full moon cycle, okay? There's going to be a lot of kind of like ancestral healing that is available to you, where there may be some things that come up. There may be some health issues that come up for people as well, okay? There may be some health issues that come up for people as well, because the body is telling you this is right. If when you start to have health issues, when you start to get sick, especially when you start to deal with like chronic illnesses and stuff like this is your body telling you we got to work on something. We got to heal something. We got to address something. Sometimes it's not external. It's not about your diet. It's not about what you're eating. It's not about your, your behavioral patterns. It's not about the routines or whatever. It's oftentimes something internal, something energetic, something in the emotional body, okay? The mental body, even the spiritual body, okay? That needs to be addressed, because the last place the illness shows up is in the physical form in the body, but it starts in the mind, it starts in the spirit, and it starts in the emotional body first. So, you want to kind of address emotional things that you've been holding on to within the body. You want to give yourself permission to release that stuff. The moon is very, very connected to the body. So we're talking about Cancer, right? We're talking about the moon. The sign of Cancer is ruled by the moon. The moon is very, very connected to our physical bodies. Our physical body, especially woman's body, responds to the moon, right? Your cycle, for many of you ladies, your cycle is connected to the new moon and the full moon, especially when you start to like wake up to your spiritual power, and you start to align yourself with the moon, and you start to get in a right relationship with like mother energy and stuff like that. Guess what? The new moon comes, you're cycling, right? That's when your period comes. So, our bodies are very intimately connected to the moon, and that's one of the things you got to remember is like the moon, the body keeps a score. So, with this full moon in Cancer, I think it's important that we really tap into our physical form in our body, and we really ask ourselves, what are we feeling? What is our body feeling? What is our body telling us? And we kind of need to just kind of sit with our body for this full moon and just ask it, what do you need? Right? Cancer is a sign of nurturing. Cancer is a sign of the mother. Cancer is a sign of caretaking. Cancer is a sign of emotional expression. Cancer is a sign of babies, of creation, right? Jupiter, the planet of abundance, the planet of procreation, the planet of expansion and growth, is exalted, extra strong in the sign of Cancer. Why? Because babies are a privilege. Family is a privilege. Family is a blessing. You know what I mean? That's what Jupiter wants to remind us. That's why we all have this deep love and this deep compassion, right? For most of us, when we see a baby, we're like, oh. Even when you see like a little puppy or a little cat or a little baby creature, there's this like, oh, I want to protect it. I want to nurture it. I want to foster it, right? I want to see it grow. This is why Jupiter's exalted in Cancer. This is why the moon rules over the sign of Cancer. Because when we're talking about a full moon Cancer, we're talking about this idea of nurturing and caretaking and supporting and also giving without receiving. I really do think Cancer, when we think about mother, right, the role of a mother, um, especially in the beginning of a child's life, she's giving everything of herself. She's giving her time, her energy. She's giving, right? And she makes sacrifices. A lot of mothers, they make sacrifices for their children. They sacrifice their career, they sacrifice their ambition, they sacrifice their own personal wants, their own personal desires in order to show up and be present as a mother, right? And so when we're talking about the sign of Cancer, we're talking about the sacrifices that we make for our family, the sacrifices that we make for the things that we care for, the things that we love, the things that we nurture, the things that we want to protect, right? Cancer is a sign of protection. Protection. Think about it. Cancer is connected to what animal? A crab. A crab has a protective shell around it, right? It's very guarded. Even the way that a crab is designed, it's like designed in a very guarded way, you know? And so that's one of the things I want you guys to think about during this full moon cycle. What do I need to nurture in my life? Who do I need to nurture in my life? Okay? What do I need to protect? What is it that I want to protect? I need to protect my heart, I need to protect my kids, I want to protect my family, I want to protect my spouse, right? This idea of protection, right? These are all things I want you guys to think about. I want you to consider for this full moon in Cancer, okay? All right, hold on. Let me pull this up. I'm just like, blah. I'm just stream of consciousness right now, blabbing. Okay, hold on. Give myself a little bit of a pause. All right, so the signs that are going to benefit the most from this full moon are going to be water and earth signs. Okay. I think water and earth signs are because you guys are receiving like the trines and the sextiles from this full moon. I think water and earth signs are going to have uh, the most opportunistic full moon possible, but also you got to be mindful of like relationship things, you know? You got to be mindful of relationship things. I think the fire signs and the air signs, this full moon may not hit the way that you want. I think the fire signs and the air signs are, they don't want to feel. Fire signs and air signs are very action oriented. They're not trying to like sit there and, heal ancestral karma and things like that typically. They're just trying to get out in the world and interact. They're trying to move. They're trying to get on to the next thing, you know? That's a very generalized thing to say, but yeah, I will say I think fire signs and air signs, that part of your chart, this could be a little rough this full moon for you just because there's a lot of sensitivity, right? There's a lot of earth and water in the air. There's no fire or air, really. All we have is Chiron going direct in Aries and Pluto in Aquarius, but other than that, every planet is in a water and earth sign. So, this is a full moon that's really calling us to feel. It's really calling us to be present with ourselves, to really, come. It's like a homecoming in a way. And this is one of the things I was saying on Monday about the full moon is this idea of homecoming and going back home during this full moon cycle. And also because of Jupiter and Cancer, we're going to be seeing this for the next 6 months as well before Jupiter exits Leo. This idea of like going back to the past, going back to your ancestral lands, going back home, visiting a grandmother, visiting a grandfather, seeing people that you haven't seen in a long time. It's like this idea that we got to tend to the root before the tree or before the branches can prosper, right? And so we're going to be seeing a lot of kind of this idea of like homecoming. What does family mean to us? What is ancestry about? Like, what does all that mean? We're going to be seeing a lot of that. Hold on, I got to modify this. I need to put the moon on the rising so I can get an idea of what's going on. Let me say, put the moon on the rising. Okay, there we go. Okay. Oh, well, we have Saturn in the ninth house. So if you put the full moon on the rising, you get a ninth house Saturn, you get Chiron in the 10th. We have Sun, Mars, Venus, Mercury all in the seventh house. Oh, interesting. Okay, so a few things that I'm getting from looking at the full moon chart. Um, New business partnerships. What's up, my love? How are you? New business partnerships, new career directions, people deciding during this full moon cycle, and we're gonna see this going into the new moon as well, that they're like done with this like line of work, or they're done with this line of business, or they're done with this job and stuff like this. We're gonna be seeing a lot of people leaving a job in the next 3 months. A lot of people are gonna be leaving a job in the next 3 months. They're gonna be like, whether it be voluntarily or not voluntarily. There's gonna be a lot of people leaving a job in the next 3 months because Jupiter's telling us, there's something bigger, there's something greater, there's something that we're either more passionate about, or there's something that's more emotionally fulfilling. There's a line of work, or there's a career or a calling out there for you that's either more emotionally fulfilling, that you're passionate about, that gives you more freedom and more independence, or that's just more aligned with like your destiny and the imprint that you want to leave on the world, like the mark that you want to leave on the world, you know? And so we're going to be seeing this. This is not Vedic astrology, my love. Someone said, does this apply to your D9 as well? We're doing Western astrology here. Okay. So that's a great question, but that question is not for me. She's asking about her D9 chart. Confirmed, I'm signing an exciting business contract today. Cap Rising, we're having a Mars return. Yes, exactly. Look at this. Giovanni just said, confirmed, I'm signing an exciting business contract today. Cap Rising here, have a Mars return. Yes, well, Cap Rising has this full moon in their seventh house of business. So, I don't want you guys to get too wrapped up in the seventh house being about love and partnership, because that's not only what it's about. The seventh house is also the house of business. It's the house of negotiations. It's the house of contracts. It's the house of sales. You'll see that a lot of people who have a strong seventh, especially combination in the seventh house, eighth house, they get into insurance. They get into, business deals. They get into one-on-one partnerships, or they even do work that's one-on-one with people. So this can be being a therapist. This can be a sales rep, right? This can be, car salesman. Like, this can be, you sell life insurance, you sell health insurance. Like, this can be also working with people intimately, either emotionally or financially. So, we can see like a seventh house thing. I can see this with the seventh house energy here. I can see this being about like, oh yeah, I'm starting a business as uh, doing private taxes or personal taxes, or I'm going to be helping people rebuild their credit, right? Or I'm going to be doing estate sales. I'm going to be selling other people's objects. So the eighth house is working with other people in intimate, emotional, or financial ways, right? And when we see this combination of the eighth and the seventh, especially the seventh and the eighth, we get people working with other people in intimate one-on-one ways, right? Someone said he just got a new business. Wait, my Capricorn is an insurance rep, and he just got a new business deal. Y'all like, don't sleep on me. Don't sleep on the soul sage. Okay? Don't sleep on the soul sage. Don't be sleeping on me. Don't be sleeping on me. Okay? That's all I gotta say. Because let me tell you something. Me and God, we like this. Me and Spirit, we like this. I don't know. I can't speak for other astrologers. I can't speak for other tarot readers, but what I will say is one of the things I've noticed about a lot of other astrologers is they lack connection. They don't have that connection. Okay? It's one thing to be studied. It's one thing to have the knowledge, but wisdom and intuition, that comes from spirit. That comes from the higher power. That comes from God. There's some things, direct line. Our God's on a telephone. Like literally, like we be talking. Me and God, hey, what's up, buddy? What's going on? Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, that's the message. Okay, I got this for the people. Don't be sleeping on the soul sage. Okay. All right, let's get back to it. So, yeah, God is in the room with us right now. Yes. This is a beautiful full moon for brainstorming new business ideas. Okay. Mercury just went into the sign of Capricorn. Mercury is the business, is the merchant, right? So with Venus, Mercury, Sun, Mars together in Capricorn for this full moon, we are really going to see a lot of people moving forward. Another thing, another date to look out for. This is just for everybody, okay? So I want you guys to look out for this date. Actually, I'm going to give you guys a few dates. You might want to write these down because these are going to be really, really good dates. There's going to be some really amazing, magical things happening for people on these dates. I'm going to give them to you right now. So, the 9th of January, okay, and the 10th. The 9th and the 10th. I want you guys to write those dates down. That's actually going to be when Sun, Mars, Venus all oppose Jupiter. And that's also going to be our waning square from our full moon in Cancer. So the moon's going to be in Libra, ruled by Venus. And what we're going to have is all these oppositions start to happen with Jupiter on the 9th and on the 10th of January. These oppositions to Jupiter are going to be very benefic, very abundant. There's going to be opportunities that missed you last year that will come back and find you this year, maybe around these days during this full moon cycle, but we're going to be seeing it as well with the new moon in Capricorn coming up. So if there's things that passed you by, if there's things that weren't ready, if there's been manifestations or blessings that you've been kind of like waiting on or they've been cooking in the oven or whatever, you may see those things start to show up with Sun, Mars, Venus opposite Jupiter. Okay? Sun, Mars, Venus opposite Jupiter. For who, it really depends. I can't really speak to that. Okay? Um, for who? Well, it's going to be Earth. Well, vaguely, so I don't have to go into too much detail. Vaguely, I'll say it's going to be for Earth signs and water signs. This is primarily working out for Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, and Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Okay. Well, Virgo and Pisces, Virgo and Pisces, you're getting a mixed bag. See, the thing with Virgo and Pisces, they got that. So Virgo and Pisces, right? Cancer and Capricorn and Taurus and Scorpio are like really they're getting the magic of this. But Virgo and Pisces, they got Saturn and the nodes that they're dealing with. So Virgo and Pisces, there's like beautiful things, expansion and growth. That's like cool stuff happening in their life, but it's a mixed bag because there's also kind of like sadness and loss and like heavy shit that they're going through, or heavy, excuse my language, hard, difficult things that they're going through because of the nodes and because of Saturn. So even though Jupiter wants to bring all this like magic and all this abundance and all these like beautiful new things, Saturn in Pisces with the nodes and the nodes being in Virgo and Pisces, Pisces and Virgo are kind of like going through it. There's maybe good stuff, but there's also really challenging or difficult stuff that they're dealing with. The mutable, okay, so the mutable signs are like are healing. They're working through things still. Virgo, Sag, Gemini, and Pisces. I think I think Sag and Gemini are having the most difficult full moon. I think this is a very difficult period for Sag and Gemini. Sag and Gemini, you guys are having this full moon on the second house, eighth house axis, but you're also dealing with Saturn and the nodes in Pisces and Virgo. So Sag and Gemini, if you're kind of seeing their life fall apart right now, if you're a Sag or Gemini, you got placements there, you got your big three there. Your life is kind of like falling apart, or things are kind of like confusing, and you're going through like a death or a rebirth, or there's like these intense transformations and endings happening right now. If you're a Sag or a Gemini, baby, lean in, stop faking it, okay? Be real, be truthful, be honest with people. It's you know what it is? It's like you can't like just like party and have fun and be irresponsible and things like this. Sag and Gemini, you guys are having it like the universe and spirit right now is trying to show, especially mutable signs, but Sag and Gemini, that you guys need to be more serious. You guys need to be more committable. You guys need to be more disciplined. You guys need to be more self-controlled. You guys need to be more honest. You guys need to show up in your relationships. You guys need to have more integrity. Like Sag and Gemini, this energy and these transits are really holding you accountable and they're trying to get you to grow and expand and to be a little bit more truthful, be a little bit, have more integrity, like show up with more honesty and be more emotionally present or emotionally available for people in your life, and to also be more optimistic or be more faithful. Um, this is what the universe is trying to like show you, okay? This is the what the transits of this time are trying to show you, okay? And then Pisces and Virgo, y'all, I'm gonna say we because I'm a Pisces rising. We just gotta kind of get ourselves together. This full moon is kind of giving us an opportunity to get ourselves together. But because the moon is next to Jupiter, though, for this full moon, you just want to be mindful of excess, of doing too much of things, spending too much, eating too much, especially dairy. Okay, you want to be mindful of dairy during this full moon cycle. Too much dairy. Stay away from the dairy if you can. All right, because you don't want to get sick. You want to get a tummy ache. Cancer rules the stomach, and so one of the things you'll notice probably for this full moon cycle, I was feeling it yesterday. Um, One of the things you'll notice is that your stomach is more sensitive during this full moon. Okay, your digestion is a little bit more bubbly for this full moon. Okay, you're gonna have more cravings. You may be craving sugar a lot for this full moon because we have Venus opposite the moon, but we also have Sun, Venus, Mars together. When Venus and the Sun and Mars come together, this is a very strong magnetic desire energy. It's a very sexy energy. Does anybody have Venus Mars conjunct in their chart? I've seen this signature a lot in when I do readings. Anybody have that? In the chat here. Anybody have Venus Mars together in their own chart? You guys have this? Does anybody in the chat right now here on Instagram have Venus Mars conjunct in their birth chart? Oh, you have that? Okay. Yeah. You have that? Okay. Yeah. Venus. Oh, you have it in Aries? Oh, Lord Jesus. You have it in your six? Oh, Jesus. You have Sun, Venus, Mars. Yeah, look at it. Look at a lot of you. A lot of you have it. Yeah, look at me. You have them in the same sign though. That's very same. You have them in Aries. Okay. So this signature of Venus, Mars, either in the same sign or conjunct. So Venus is the planet of love and partnerships. Venus is the planet of woman, right? Venus is also connected to passion. She's connected. So Venus is passion, but Mars is desire. So Venus has a lot to do with what we're attracted to and what we attract, where Mars is the planet of like desire and like heat and like, it's passion, but it's more individual passion where Venus is more like sexual, pleasurable passion. Okay. So when you get Venus and Mars together, though, what these are like divine lovers, Venus and Mars are like divine lovers. What you get, though, is you get Mars inflaming Venus. So you get very troubled relationships when people have Venus, Mars together, right? They tend to get into conflict with their lover all the time. They tend to fight and argue all the time. This tends to be like a normal thing, an essential thing. It tends to be a defining part of their relationship experience, and they start relationships very, very fast. So when Venus and Mars are together, these are people that are very, very passionate about love. These are people that, they fall in love very, very quickly. They're very assertive when it comes to love. They're very dominant when it comes to partnership, right? They're very attracted to masculine energy as well. So Venus, right, the modification of Mars on Venus makes people very attracted to Martian energy. So you'll see that when women have Venus Mars together, they're very attracted to men that are very masculine and very dominant and very spicy and very hot, and they can be angry. They could also be temperamental, and there could be men that are impulsive, right? They can be very dominant. So that's the other thing when Venus and Mars are together. It's like the dominance and the power and the heat and the aggression of Mars inflaming and kind of like attacking the peace and the beauty and the harmony of Venus. But what's also really interesting is Venus enhances Mars. Venus also enhances Mars. right? So Venus, she brings kind of like peace and joy. She kind of brings beauty to Mars, right? So what tends to happen when people have Venus and Mars together is they get a partner that's very successful, it's very attractive. They get a partner that's very desire driven. Also, they can get a partner that's into art, that's into beauty. It can go either way. But it's really interesting. I just want you guys to hold this idea in mind with any conjunction in your chart of this idea that the planets are modifying each other, right? Mars is modifying Venus, and Venus is modifying Mars in their expression, right? Venus is taking on Mars's energy, and Mars is taking on a little bit of Venus's energy when they're in conjunction. And this can be for any two planets that you have, right? But Mars being a malefic and Venus being a benefic, Venus is good for Mars, where Mars is bad for Venus, right? So Mars's energy is going to be negative on Venus, where Venus's energy is going to be positive on Mars. So Mars is he's actually gonna be a little bit more peaceful, a little bit more diplomatic, right? He's not gonna be as assertive because he's conjoined Venus, but then Venus is also inflamed by Mars. So Mars's influence on Venus is gonna create a lot of relationship issues, relationship disturbances. Another thing that we see is gender dynamic issues with when people have Venus Mars together. Okay. So when people have Venus, Mars together, gender dynamics tend, like especially between like men and women, tend to be very contentious or tend to be very difficult. So, if you're a woman, you can have very difficult relationships with men. If you're a man, you can have very difficult relationships with women when you have Venus, Mars together. It's really funny because when a man has Venus, Mars, or when a heterosexual man has Venus, Mars, he gets a woman that's very dominant and very mean or angry, or a woman that's very assertive and very authoritative, right? Because he's attracted to his Venus, but his Venus is being modified by Mars. So this is how you see these men where they end up with women that are very masculine. So if you see a man that has Venus Mars in his birth chart, and you're with him, and he has Venus Mars, you probably have some Aries energy or Scorpio energy, or you probably have a really strong Mars imprint in your own chart, or you're probably the boss and the leader of the relationship, right? The reason why I'm talking about Venus Mars together for is because this is the signature that we have in the sky right now for the full moon. Because we have Venus Mars right next to the sun opposing the moon. So, so children that are born during this time, if you have a child that's born during this full moon, they're gonna have Venus Mars Sun they're gonna have Venus Mars Sun and Capricorn together. Their dad is gonna be a businessman. Their dad's gonna be very attractive. Mom is gonna be very eternal. If a child is born during this full moon cycle, their dad is very, very successful. Their dad is ambitious. He makes money. He has his own business. He's at the top of the food chain. And the child is going to grow up in a pretty big house. The child's family life is going to be nice and easy. And they're probably going to be born in a big family or have a big family. You guys know where I'm getting this from? Well, I'm getting this from the fact that the moon, which is the mother, is right next to Jupiter. So the fact that we have this full moon next to Jupiter tells us that the mother's life and the family life and the home life is blessed and abundant. Moon Jupiter in the same sign together tells us that the child's probably going to be born in a very blessed way, right? Or in a very blessed environment where Sun, Venus, Mars together tells us that because the father's the sun, exalted Mars, dad's going to be very abundant. Dad's going to be very successful, very, very ambitious. But there is some kind of conflict in the relationship between mom and dad. So if a child is born during this full moon, there's conflict between mom and dad in some type of way, or dad is probably the more authoritative figure because Sun and Mars are together opposite the moon. So when Sun and Mars is opposite the moon, Mars opposite the moon, that's a signature that's very difficult. It's very hard. If you have that in your own birth chart, you have Mars opposite the moon, you have Mars on your moon, you have Mars squaring your moon, you know that your mom and your dad's relationship was probably not healthy or not good. They were fighting, they were arguing, and also your relationship with your mom can be very difficult when you have Mars in aspect to your moon. And those that have a Mars ruled moon, you have an Aries moon or Scorpio moon, you know this as well. Like you have a Mars influenced moon, your relationship with your mom, that woman may be a powerhouse. That woman may be, very intense and very passionate, but she also may be very angry and very, masculine in masculine. She has a masculine energy, Mars energy, Does that make sense? Your brother just gave birth on 31st. Aw. Let me go look at that chart really quick. Your brother just gave birth on the 31st. Tell him to book a children's chart reading with me so I can tell him a little about his baby. Gemini moon. Oh yeah, yeah, but look at Sun, Venus, Mars together. Oh, someone's a drinker in that family. Is the mom a drinker? Or is the mom kind of Delulu? Or has the mom's lineage struggle with addiction? Curly Rose? I don't know. I'm looking at Mercury square Neptune and the moon in Gemini. Mom, it looks like okay, Curly Rose. It looks like your brother keeps it all together. Your brother is the one that's like doing it all. And his wifey is just like she's struggling. Poor thing. She's struggling. That's what it looks like based on this chart. But it's in it, but we have an exalted Jupiter. I just, I'm gonna be honest. I think children that are born with this exalted Jupiter and Cancer right now, she look at look what she said. My brother does, and the girlfriend is a bum. Yeah, exactly. He's like, you know what this chart is giving? Let me tell you what this chart is giving. This chart is giving, he's like the father she never had. He's like daddy. Your brother is like the father figure. He's like responsible, mature, where she's like being taken care of by him, you know? That's what it looks like. Okay, let's get back to the full moon. He's a Capricorn and she's a uh, it makes so sense. It makes so much sense. Look at she has a child. She has a brother who's just born. She has a brother who just had a child, and he was born. The child is a Capricorn. The child has a son in Capricorn, and dad is a Capricorn. Because why? Children inherit the son, not all the time. They inherit the son from the father. You know. So this is how you can use Happy New Year, my love. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. We're talking about the full moon in Cancer. This is how you can predict actually when a child's going to be born, which is something I'm going to be doing next week. I think I have a client. I think she might be here right now actually. We're doing a session next week where I'm going to be doing a prediction some predictions for her around her child when her child's going to be born. Now I'm using her chart and dad's chart. So cool. You can see the parents dynamic from the baby's chart. Yeah, it's written. It's so everything's like written, y'all, my loves. It's all written. It's so cool. That's why astrology is really cool once you figure it out. It takes a while to figure out, but once you figure it out, astrology will really show you some things that are really magical. So, okay, let's get back to the full moon. Okay. So, um, so there's a lot of people that be traveling during this full moon cycle or this month. We're going to see this a lot, especially towards the end of this month. And people kind of like traveling or visiting places maybe that they don't want to visit, but out of obligation or responsibility. So this can be like traveling because you got to go to a wedding, but you really don't want to go. This can be traveling because you got to go to a funeral. This can be traveling because you got to go to like an interview and you're like, oh, I don't want to go to that interview, or I just don't want to. But it's like obligation. It's like you have to do it. Okay. We're also gonna be seeing people traveling. To visit their homeland or visit somewhere where they're visiting somebody they haven't seen in a long time, or they're like connecting to like a grandmother or grandfather, things like this. Okay. I also am gonna tell you guys, we're already seeing it. We've been seeing it since the beginning of Capricorn season. This legal issues and legal problems and legal affairs and like people suing people and people needing to take their job or their boss to court, and people like there's a lot of like legal action, a lot of like legal court issues that are going to be coming up this full moon cycle, especially for cardinal signs and for mutable signs. So for Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, Aries, and for Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, Sag, we're going to be seeing a lot of legal activity. There's going to be a lot of stuff of people needing to go to court and um, you know, take baby daddy to court. I don't know. It's time. It's time, okay? You need to collect on that, all right? He's got that new job, okay? Like he just got a promotion. So he's making more money, my love. Is I know before it was only gonna be like maybe 300 a month, but I don't know. Now it looks like he could be getting a little something. So I think it's time to take him to court, okay, and collect on that collect on that collect on that whatchamacallit, on that child support. All right. Get that. Yeah, make sure and don't sign that prenup. Okay. Don't sign the prenup. don't sign the prenup, okay? He's got a lot of money saved up. He's got a nice retirement plan. So make sure you do not sign that prenup, okay? But baby, prenup, schmeenup. We don't even know what that is. A prenuptial. I don't even that's that word. That's too big for me. I don't know what that is. We don't do those. Prenuptial. Who's that? Okay, who's she? We don't know her. We don't know prenuptial. We don't know her. She don't go here. But yes, we're going to be seeing a lot of engagement. That's the thing. We have Sun, Venus, Mars in the seventh house. We have Jupiter with the moon. This is like, let's get married. Oh my, you guys. Okay. Here we go. Here we go right here. You guys ready?
The hair, the remarkable, so fast remix. Date me, y'all. Run DMC to the beach, y'all.
You guys know this song? It's the remix.
The beat, I know.
Now, first of all,
No, these so-called players wouldn't tell you this, but I'ma be real, say what's on my heart.
oh, I thought you said heart.
Let's take
Dance break. No, no, no. This is the Let's Get Married song. Let's get married. This is the Let's Get Married song. Okay, anyways, we're not gonna do that right now. We're not gonna do that right now. But what I will say, the reason why I brought this song up is because there's going to be a lot of nostalgia with this full moon. So Cancer is the sign of the past. And one of the things that we notice with water signs, especially Pisces and Cancer, is this kind of like investment, this emotional investment in the past. And like the past, all they always go back to the past for different reasons. So this idea of nostalgia, this idea of the past coming back, this idea of revisiting the past, and reconnecting to the past in some type of way. This is also like what I was saying in the beginning about ancestry and stuff like that. That's also in that same vein. But yeah, there's gonna be a lot of this energy of like nostalgia, okay? That's the remix, right? Hold on. Oh, this is the original. This is the original. This is the one that I was trying to play. No. Okay. Oh, I can't. Okay, I can't share. I can't play any more music. I just got a little message that said I'm nearing the limit of the amount of licensed music that I'm able to play in a live. That was really weird. So I can't play any more of that. I'm sorry, you guys. But yeah. All right. Another thing that I wanted to talk about, um, which may be a little difficult or maybe a little challenging with this full moon, is relationships with neighbors, siblings, aunts, and uncles. Okay. Neighbors, siblings, aunts, uncles, extended family. There could be some fallouts. There could be some miscommunication. There could be some kind of like some losses or some deception. So there could be challenging or difficult things that our siblings, or a neighbor, aunt and uncle, things like this can like go through. Oh yeah, well, roommates, yeah, roommates could be an area of tension or conflict as well. Mainly because we have Venus, Sun, Mars together, and Venus is the fourth house ruler. So, this full moon in Cancer, people, Mars opposite this moon, people are wanting to move or have moved or are moving. People want to, they don't want to, like, if you're not at peace with your living situation, or if you're living with people that are like not in alignment with your energy, or if the universe is trying to get you to move, like because they don't want you to live somewhere anymore, like spirit don't want you to live somewhere anymore, that could be, you could be made aware of that with this full moon. Okay. I don't know. To me, actually, though, I don't know. This is actually because I'm seeing Venus, Sun, Mars together. This could also be about working things out, or just like, you know, Capricorn, Sun, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Capricorn. We need boundaries in the living home. We need, maybe it's time to put a lock on the door. Maybe it's time to, um, I don't know, change. I don't know. Like, there's something about boundaries with living situations needing to be addressed, or like rules, like household rules. So there's something around like we need to talk about the rules of the house. Like, you know, all right, you can't just be bringing strangers home after 9 o'clock. You can't be loud after 10 o'clock. You can't be just walking to my room whenever you want. You can't be waking up in the morning and making all this noise. You need to be more aware of like the fact that I'm sleeping. So there's something about like rules and regulation and boundaries within the family, within the home environment that need to be addressed during this full moon so that we can kind of like negotiate. This idea of negotiation, of compromise, this idea of mediation. We want to mediate things during this full moon cycle because Sun, Venus, Mars, Mercury are all in the seventh place away from the full moon, and we have Jupiter next to the moon. So to me, this is kind of giving there is an availability or a possibility of working through things, coming to an agreement, finding like some kind of negotiation, finding some kind of peace, something like this. Well, you're like, I'm not like that. Look at my dad talking crap. This is why I live alone. Okay? Because listen, okay? Listen, okay? I'm just kidding. So, I've actually been liking being here at my parents' house. My parents actually, they like got a bed and they got like a whole dresser set and they got all this stuff. They like fixed up this room for me over here. I'm very blessed, y'all. Listen, I just gotta tell you, I'm a little spoiled. I'm be honest with you guys. I grew up like kind of, middle class, upper middle class. I'm a little spoiled. My parents spoil me. They do. My parents spoil me. I have Moon Venus. I have Moon Venus sextiling each other. All right. I have my fourth house rulers in the ninth house with the sun. I'm a little spoiled. Okay. So they do a lot for me. My parents, they got me a rental. They got me a car rental. So I have a car for like a week and a half, 2 weeks, because my parents were like, "Oh, we want to get you a car." Thank you. Oh, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm a little spoiled. I'm a little spoiled. I'm a little spoiled, you guys. I grew up a little spoiled. Me and my brother. My brother's more spoiled than me, though, okay? Your moon sextiles Venus. Yeah. When you have the moon aspecting Jupiter or Venus, because the moon is your family, is your upbringing, right? When you have the moon aspecting Jupiter or Venus, or even if you have Jupiter, Venus in your fourth house or your second house, you'll see this. People that have moon, Jupiter, Venus in their second house, in their fourth house, they have Venus or Jupiter aspecting their moon. They're very blessed. And their parents and their family kind of like shows up for them and gives them things and stuff like that. So yeah, karma things, karma things. Second house moon, your second house moon or fourth house moon, you're more than likely going to inherit your family's property, or your family can help you buy a property. And Jupiter in the ninth, yeah, Jupiter in the ninth is another good one. Jupiter in the ninth, that's going to actually come through more with grandparents. Jupiter in the ninth, 10th. She said I have opposite. See, the thing is, like, when you start getting into when you start getting to the top half of the chart, um, you're being pushed out in the world. So this is one of the things I explain to people. When you have a lot in the top half of your chart, when you have a lot, especially in houses 11, 10, and 9, those houses, you are being pushed out. Your chart is trying to push you out into the world to accomplish something, to become something, to do something. So what happens is when your chart is like very midheaven focused, or very top of the chart focused, you get pushed away from your family. You get taken away from your family, or like spirit, your chart, energy, whatever you want to say, life tries to push you away from your family so that you could go out in the world and do what you got to do. And this is one of the things that I also explain to Capricorns and Aquariuses a lot when I'm giving them a chart reading is like, you're gonna, Capricorns and Aquariuses especially, and especially, or if you have Moon Saturn stuff going on, Saturn is trying to push you away from your family. Like Saturn is going to have your family reject you. You're not going to have a family sometimes, or you're going to have a missing parent or missing parents, You're gonna grow up in the foster system, like things like this, because you're meant to go out in the world and do something and become something. And if you were given a family, or if you had a good upbringing, or if you had family and stuff like that, you more probably would have been too comfortable or too secure or too attached or too like invested in home to like go out in the world and achieve something. So it's like, so what's interesting, especially with like Saturn people and like Aquarius Capricorn, is like they kind of get rejected from their family, or they'll not have a family, or they have a wounded, traumatic family experience because they're getting pushed out into the world to go do something and achieve something, you know? Like that's kind of like the way it works. And a lot, and it's tough though, because, you know, we could take it personal and be like, oh my God, like, you know, my upbringing was so shitty. And like, what did I do? And my karma and my mom and my dad, and, you know, have so much woundedness with that. We can really internalize that and take that personal. But once you go on the spiritual journey, you'll start to realize like a lot of these things that, you know, you had no control over in the beginning of life, especially like things like family, where you grew up and stuff like that, were kind of like scripted and written in a way to like get you activated and to get you to move and get you to do something, you know? I love that. Yeah. I have a Capricorn moon as well. And you know, those of us with a Capricorn moon, if you like look at this person, Tarji said she's a Capricorn with 5 planet stellium and Cap. Oh, she must have been born like 91, 92. 10th house, Jupiter and Taurus in the second. Yeah. When you have a really strong like 10, 2, 6, 10 house thing going on, or you have a lot of like earth energy, like Capricorn, Virgo, Taurus, if houses 2, 6, and 10 are really active in your chart, or if you have a lot of earth energy in your chart, okay. This is we're gonna get back to the full moon, I promise. Okay. Oh, 1988. Oh, interesting. 1988. You have Capricorn stellium. Interesting. I was thinking about the Capricorn babies that have like the whole like Saturn, Pluto, Neptune, everything in Capricorn that were born in like 92, 91. I was thinking about them. But when you have a lot of that, you're here to develop a relationship in the material world. You're here to like become something and do something with your skills and your talents. Like you're here to like be a career-oriented person. You're here to kind of like serve the world. You're here to like develop a relationship with your health and your body. You're here to like be abundant, like make money, like and develop a good relationship with money. And you'll notice that for a lot of people that have the Capricorn stelliums, what's the karma here with the Capricorn stellium people, or if you have a lot of Capricorn placements or 10th house placements, is very intelligent, skilled, or gifted, or talented people in the family that didn't channel their energy into do it into like a career or into success or into like achievement. So when you are born with like a Capricorn stellium, or you're born with a 10th house stellium, there's usually a pattern in the family of ancestors who have failed in achieving a goal or a mission or doing something great, or even like they have failed in like, you know, obtaining property and making money and kind of like creating generational wealth and things like this. So when you are like a Capricorn stellium, if you have a 10th house stellium, or if you have a lot going on in earth signs, or if house is 2, 6, and 10 or highly activated, you're here to like make money. You're here to be abundant. You're here to be like a business owner. You're here to like, you know, take skills and talents and gifts in the family, and you're here to monetize them. You're here to like monetize them. You're here to like heal your relationship with money, heal your relationship with the material world. You know what I mean? And kind of release yourself from this like energy of lack, you know, and this karmic struggle of like, you know, we got to struggle for money and like penny pinching and like, oh, you know, making ends meet, especially Virgo Capricorn. Like, you know, it's so crazy because there's like abundant Capricorns, right? There's Capricorns that are abundant, like so abundant, and they've like figured out their money and everything, right? But they live like they're broke. They have like poverty consciousness because the way they grew up, they haven't worked through the trauma. You can like, so if you are someone with like heavy Saturn energy, heavy 10th house energy, heavy Capricorn energy, you can like be super abundant and make tons of money, right? But if you haven't healed your own like self-worth, self-esteem, if you haven't healed this like ancestral wound around resources and money, you're not going to be able to enjoy it. You're not going to be able to like have fun. Like having money, it can actually bring a lot of stress and a lot of depression and a lot of angst and a lot of like burden, you know? And this is why being rich or being wealthy, it can be very burdensome as well. You know what I mean? Be careful what you ask for. And a lot of times, you know, especially if you haven't worked on like your vices and things like this, when you have a lot of money, and you have vices and you have really bad habits and you can afford those vices, money can become a very self-destructive thing. Okay? More money, more problems, right? So how do you heal that though? You got to really work on your relationship with the material world and you got to disconnect from the material world and not giving it so much like power, like not being afraid of the material world, right? Not being afraid of money. A lot of people have a lot of fear when it comes to money. So you can have a lot of money, but if you have a fear-based relationship with money, then you're always going to be thinking, "Oh my God, what if it runs out? Oh my God, I could go broke tomorrow. Oh my God, what if it runs out? Oh my God, I could go broke tomorrow." And so you're like hustling and you're like making money and you're like saving and you don't spend because you have this idea, this fear-based consciousness and this fear-based relationship with money to where it's like stress and anxiety and oh my God, I could run out. And what if I don't have money? And blah, blah. And it's like you gotta let that go. You gotta heal that. You gotta be like, money comes and money goes, money flows. It's about detaching, detachment. Okay, I have money today. Oh, I don't have money tomorrow. That's fine. It comes, it goes. So you can spend it and spend it in a way where you don't feel guilty, you don't feel ashamed. It's so crazy. You'll know if you have a bad relationship with money because you either spend it in an unhealthy way or when you do spend it, you feel guilty and you feel ashamed, especially when you spend it on yourself or you spend it on things that you enjoy, like leisurely activity. If you cannot spend money on leisurely activity without feeling some kind of shame or guilt, or if you spend money in an unhealthy way and you have an unhealthy relationship with money where you're just like overspending to kind of like feel something, feel a void within you, then you got to work on it. You got to work on it. Money trauma shows up in a lot of different ways. A lot of different ways. You know what I mean? And I talk about this when I give people readings. It's so easy to see when someone has an emotional relationship with money. It's so easy to see because you'll see that they either have a water sign ruling the second house, they have the moon in the second house, or their second house ruler is being aspected by the moon. So, and it's like so, it's such like a, it's like such a, what do you call this? Like an archetypal thing. It's a pattern that I've noticed. When people have a second house moon, especially, they will emotionally spend or they'll emotionally eat or they have a water sign ruling their second house, Cancer in the second house, or the second house ruler aspecting the moon in some type of way. They will emotionally eat and they'll emotionally spend. Because the second house is food and diet. The second house is money and resources. The second house is also our self-worth and our self-esteem. So if we don't have a good sense of self-worth and we don't really value ourselves, then our sense of worth and value with things, with people, and with the world is going to be off. It's going to be off. People that overvalue material things, okay, people that overvalue the material world, they have too much value. That's reflecting something that's missing within them. That's reflecting an energy of lack that's within them. Yeah, oh yeah, eighth house moon is the same thing. Yeah, emotional eater and spender. Eighth house moon is the same thing. Because if you have your moon in the second house, eighth house, yeah, it's like the similar, it's the same thing. It's on that axis of resources, right? Yeah, that's a second house move. Yeah, Lowe's. So you got to work on your own worth, and you also got to understand when you have like a second house, eighth house moon thing going on, or a lot going on there. You can't attach your worth or your value to resources or money, the material world. So you can't be like, I'm only worthy if I'm making X amount of money. I'm only worthy if I have X, Y, and Z. I'm only worthy if I'm driving this type of car, if I'm living in this type of area. That's right. You can't attach your worth or your value to anything in the material world because you are inherently valuable and worthy. This is what God shows us. This is what the universe shows us. This is what the spiritual journey teaches us, right? Just you being is enough. You are enough. Even if you have nothing and you do nothing and you be nothing, you're still worthy. Inherently, you have worth. Regardless of what you do, regardless of what you have, it's about detaching from all that. You see what I'm saying? This is where this is where we kind of incorporate astrology into our spiritual understanding and our spiritual relationship with life as well. We want to deepen our relationship with astrology by kind of understanding that astrology shows us where our traumas and our triggers are, shows us where things are going to be hard or difficult, but also gives us a way out and gives us a different perspective on healing these things. You see what I'm saying? Very important, you know? One of the things I do want to say though, that I think, because I'm looking at the full moon, so let's get back to the full moon. I'm just over here, like, preaching and stuff. But one of the things I do want to say is there's going to be a lot of, I think there's going to be father healing with this full moon. I'm looking at Chiron going direct in the 10th house, the 10th house being a father house, and we have Sun Mars together in Capricorn opposite the full moon. So I'm kind of getting this energy of like healing our woundedness with masculinity or father figures or authority figures, or even healing our relationship with our own personal authority or even authorities that are like what is our relationship with power and authority? How do we how do we outsource power authority in a way that self-sabotages? So this is like when we don't feel confident or sure to make our own choices or own decisions, we call someone. We call our parents. We ask our spouse, where we outsource our decisions and our choices and our power and our authority to others because we don't have the confidence or the sureness of our own power, of our own authority, or even our own ability to make decisions and choices for ourselves, you know? I really do think it's important, with Chiron going direct in Aries, this is just a general message. It's really important to to heal your relationship with your own personal power so that you aren't constantly compromising your own passion, your own power, your own authority, your own decision making, your own choices. You aren't compromising that because you're either afraid of conflict or because you don't really trust your own decision making, your own choices, or you don't trust your own intuition. You don't trust your own ability to make choices for yourself. Or even Chiron and Aries, when you make a choice or you make a decision that other people don't understand, you will like go back on it, or you'll like be like, okay, well, you'll compromise yourself because it's in disagreement or it's creating contention with others. So this is kind of like, Chiron and Aries. It's like, all right, well, I want to go and do this career, but my mom and my dad want me to do this career, or my spouse wants me to do this career. But because I want to avoid conflict and tension with them, and because it's going to be hard or difficult, that conflict, I'm going to go ahead and do what they want me to do instead of listening to myself and doing what I want to do. Like, we got to choose the self. We got to do what we want to do. We got to follow our passions. This is where the energy is trending this upcoming in 2026. Because what's happening with the sign of Aries next or this year in 2026? What's happening this year with Aries? Saturn and Neptune are moving into Aries this year, right? They dipped their toes into Aries last year. We got a little sample of what Saturn and Neptune and Aries is going to be, but Saturn and Neptune are going into Aries this year. Aries is a sign of what? Individuality. Sign of your passions, your desires, what you want to do, right? Aries is the sign of initiation. It's also the sign of pioneers. So when we're talking about Aries, and this is also a Capricorn Cancer thing, this is a cardinal sign thing, okay? Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, and Libra. The cardinal signs are the pioneers of the family. They're the first to do things. So they're going to be the first one to do this. They're going to be the first one to do that, right? The first one to go to college. The first one to pay off their debt. The first one to own a home. They're the first. So I want you guys to start thinking and leaning into this energy of, okay, what am I going to be the first to do in my family? Who am I? I'm going to be the first one in my family. That should be one of your goals. You should figure that out in 2026. We're in a 1 year. It is the year of the horse, a 1 year. Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, right? Aries is definitely, I think Aries and Leo are the bravest. Aries and Leo are the bravest signs of the zodiac, in my opinion. Um, but what are you going to be in the first in your family to do? And it could also be, it doesn't have to be like work, career, money oriented. This could also be, I'm going to be in the first in my family to have a healed relationship. I'm going to be the first in my family to marry a partner that isn't abusive. I'm going to be the first in my family to go to therapy. I'm going to be the first in my family to go sober, right? I want you guys to be thinking about this, okay? Especially if you are someone with cardinal energy. If you have a lot of Cancer, Aries, Capricorn, Libra in your chart, like myself, I have the North Node and Jupiter in Aries. I have a Capricorn moon, okay? I have Mars in Libra. I'm the first astrologer. I'm the first tarot reader. I was the first one to go to college, okay? Um, I'm just number one. I'm just number one energy. I don't know what to say. It is what it is. You know what I mean? I'm always the first, but like if I'm in if like okay, if I'm in class, I'm the first one to raise my hand. If someone's like, "Oh, who wants to go first?" I'm going first. Period. Because I'm number one energy. That's me. That's just who I am. I can't help it. I was built this way. I got the North Node, Jupiter, and Aries. I have Mars and Libra. I have a Capricorn moon. Okay, like, you're gonna be the first one to do things. You're gonna be the first one to do things, and you got to lean into that because let me tell you, what's difficult about being a cardinal sign sometimes is that you're the experimenter because you don't have a blueprint, right? When you're an Aries energy, when you're a cardinal energy, there's no one has done it before you. So you got to develop this like kind of like faith and confidence within yourself to do things that have never been done before and to kind of just it's like having this intuitive relationship with your spirit with the divine to because that's your blueprint, right? Because there is no plan for pioneers, right? You're hacking weeds. You're the first one paving the path, right? So it's important to get comfortable with this idea of trial and error when you're a cardinal person, when you're a cardinal energy. Even if you have a lot of like first house, 10th house, seventh house. So you may not be a cardinal and you may not have cardinal signs, right? Or cardinal placements, but let's say you have a whole stellium in your 10th house. You have a whole stellium in your first. You have a whole stellium in your seventh house. Well, guess what? You're a cardinal energy too, because those are the strongest houses in the chart, and those are the cardinal houses. Those are the houses of initiation. So the houses, right? 1, 4, 7, and 10, that's where the angles are located. These are the most powerful, these are the most powerful houses in your chart. These are the strongest houses in your chart, right? The strongest house is the first, the second strongest house is the 10th. The third strong, well, actually, it's a toss up between the 10th and the seventh. And then the weakest of the cardinal houses is the fourth house because it's the most private, it's the most exclusive, it's the bottom of the chart, right? So if you are, and you'll notice this, people that have planets on the angles, if you have a planet on your ascendant, on your descendant, on your MC or IC, that planet is going to show up very strongly in your personality. It's going to show up very strongly in your life. It's going to show up in a very real, practical way too. It's going to show up in a very real, practical way. Like you're going to see that planet either manifest in your body, you're going to see it manifest as your partner, you're going to see it manifest in your career because planets on the angles, they manifest most readily or the strongest materially. They manifest most readily in our material world because the angles that's the cross of matter. That's where energy materializes into the physical reality, right? When we're understanding our chart. So if you are, let's say you're a Cancer rising, you have Jupiter on your ascendant, you're going to be a very Jupiter energy. This is also another thing that kind of um, modifies our expression sometimes. Are you guys still here? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? When you have planets on the angles, well, because that planet will really show up in your personality and your character. That planet will really show up in your life. Yeah, look at Anthony has Uranus on the IC, and Anthony, and also planets on the angles also will manifest in the opposite angle. So if you have Uranus on the IC, it's also opposing your MC. So you're going to see your Uranus manifesting with your 10th house and your MC in your career as well. And Anthony, I know Anthony. He's my client, but I know me and Anthony. He's part of my little group chat, and we've connected a lot, and I know a lot about his life. And Anthony is a very Uranian person. Anthony is very Uranian. Okay, even like in his presentation, in his dress, and a lot of also a lot of the narratives, a lot of the stories that Anthony has experienced, in his work and his career life has been very Uranian, being an outsider, right? Being the different one, being the one that's kind of ostracized sometimes, right? Or being the one that doesn't fit into the status quo. That's a very Uranus thing. So if you are someone that's very Uranian, you have Uranus on your ascendant, you have Uranus on your IC, Uranus on the MC, you're gonna see this Uranus energy show up where you're a rebel, you're an outcast, you don't want to fit in, you challenge the status quo, you defy expectations, right? You want to challenge, and also I think Uranus is a disruptor, right? So Uranian people, they walk around disrupting things. They walk around like causing rebellions. Like Uranus is a very mischievous energy. He's very mischievous. I think that's what Uranus and Mercury have a lot in common. Uranus and Mercury have a lot in common because both of them, they're kind of mischievous in a way. Like they want to undercut the status quo. They want to undercut authority. They don't really want to listen to the rules and stuff, right? And I see this Uranus energy really show up in Anthony's life. So it's really it's so fascinating. All right, my loves. Well, let's get back to the full moon. All right. Okay. So the ninth house, Saturn, North Node, Neptune for the full moon. This is what was giving me legal issues and legal problems. And this was all, and the seventh house, ninth house activation, was giving me like having to take someone to court or having to deal with someone. Also, ooh, interesting. I have a download coming through around reconnecting to abandoned goals or dreams. So if that's a message for somebody with this full moon. There's something around like maybe you were going to school in your 20s, but you had to drop out because you had a kid, and now you want to like go back to school, okay? Or maybe like you were gonna like do that business, but then you ended up getting that job, and you needed that job at the time, but now like you're in a good place, and now you have the resources, you have the time, you have the energy to like start that business. Like there's something about going back to like abandoned goals or dreams that I have coming through, and also with the ninth house energy here, like going back to school. Okay. Going back to school, educating yourself, getting a mentor, getting a teacher, getting a guru, things like this. Okay. With the ninth house, North Node, Saturn, Neptune, for the full moon, if you put the full moon on the ascendant. All right. Let me see here. Uh, 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 uh. Uh, another thing we want to be mindful of is sickness and illness, especially around the lungs and also bodily injuries around the back. Be careful if you're someone that goes to the gym. Be careful. You don't want to blow your back out or anything like that. We just because we have Sun Mars together, and then the Saturn Neptune in Pisces, the Pisces energy for the full moon is kind of making people sick or making people ill or weakening our immune system. Okay, so make sure you are on your P's and Q's and just be mindful of like keeping your immune system boosted at this time. All right. Full moon in Cancer, we're gonna be at home. We're gonna feel this energy of connecting with the family, being at home, and kind of like planning for the next year. So I really want you guys to like lean in with this full moon, lean into your emotional expression, lean into family, lean into nurturing, lean into the things that you want, that you care for, the things that you got to protect. But also keep in mind that we have this Capricorn stellium for this full moon that is kind of like holding people accountable. We need boundaries, right? Going back to business, figuring out what the next direction is when it comes to work and career. I think this is a beautiful full moon cycle to like put in applications and things like this because so if you are someone that's looking for a job and stuff like that, I think you should be putting in applications during this new year, during this full moon cycle, because we have a new moon in Capricorn that's going to be trining Uranus. We have a new moon in Capricorn that's going to be with Mars, Mercury together in 2 weeks. And so there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff happening with like work and business and like jobs and like promotions and stuff. This can be a really cool time. You're going to see a lot of people like getting promoted and kind of like moving up in the corporate ladder and stuff. Mainly because of the influence of Mars this Capricorn season. So we don't get Mars in Capricorn every Capricorn season. Okay? Mars co-present with the Sun and with Venus is kind of like a unique thing, okay? But it's really giving this energy of initiation, right? Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So I think it's really important to like lean into this opportunistic kind of like I this like opportunistic energy, especially, around those dates that I shared earlier, around the 9th and the 10th, when Sun, Mars, and Venus come start opposing Jupiter. Okay. May you see if I get approved for military benefits? You should. More than likely, yes. There's a lot of stuff with like government and stuff like that, right? Capricorn is a sign of government. Capricorn and Saturn are connected to government, bigger institutions. So when we're talking about like, when we're talking about like needing to consult the government or trying to get money from the government or even like big entities, corporations, stuff like that, we're talking about the energy of Saturn and we're talking about the energy of Capricorn. We have Sun, Venus, Mars together. So this should be, is your eighth house? Yeah, well, eighth house is unearned income. So yeah. That should be a good thing for you. Yeah. You have a second house full moon, so are you a Gemini rising? You're a Gemini rising or Sag rising? You have Jupiter, Moon in your if you're Gemini rising or Sag rising, this is happening on your second house, eighth house axis. And the eighth house is about unearned income and unearned money. And you have Sun, Venus, Mars, and Mercury there. So more than likely, yeah, that could be about you getting money. you getting money that you don't work for, right? The eighth house is money from like insurance payments, money from court orders, money from like unemployment, like, alimony, benefits, insurance payouts, benefit payouts, those, retirement pay that's all eighth house. That's all eighth house stuff. And yeah, eighth house, yeah. It's all eighth house stuff. That's what the eighth house is about. Eighth house is about payments or income coming in from sources that you don't where it's not work. It's not work related, right? Second house is money that you work for, or money that you create or grow yourself. Taurus, it's connected to the sign of Taurus. So the second house is like your own garden, right? And eighth house is like other people's garden. Yeah, that makes sense. Look what Curly said. She said, "Son in my eighth. That explains why my dad is always giving me money and buying me stuff and helping me." Exactly. But it's always you got to be careful though with eighth house stuff because when you got like, okay, let's say right for Curly, right? Eighth house son. Her dad's always giving her money. Because the son is the father. But eighth house is also about manipulation. And it's also about power and control. So you gotta be careful because when you have eighth house placements, sometimes people are gonna give you money and it comes with a cost or it comes with a price. It's not free. It's like they're going to give you money because they want an element of control in your life or they're trying to manipulate something or they're trying to keep you close. The eighth house is very possessive energy, right? So a lot of times eighth housers, they end up getting owned. They like they give away their authority, their power or they end up like getting resources or being taken care of, but it also comes at a price where they like lose their freedom or they lose their autonomy, right? So it's like, oh yeah, you can, if you're an eighth house person, oh yeah, you can have a husband or a spouse that pays for everything or a parent that pays for everything, but in some other way, you lose an element of freedom or autonomy, or they're doing it to kind of like control or hold power over you, right? So it's like, in some ways, yes, you get the money, you get the resources, you get taken care of, but like there's a karmic thing that's with it as well, That it's like, yeah, I have an eighth house south node in Mars, and I do not like let people borrow money very rarely because I know that I'm not going to get it back. I have South Node Mars and Libra in the eighth house, and I don't ever get money from my family or my parents. Well, they if they want to gift it to me, but I never borrow money or ask for money from anybody. Just because of the complications of my South Node in Mars in the eighth house of shared resources. I have North Node and Jupiter in the second, so I make my own money, and North Node Jupiter in the second. A little blessed. We're a little blessed up in these parts. Okay. Yes. Your family. Yeah, well, you got a broke dad. Eighth house. So the thing is, right? When you have an eighth house son, it's usually dad has bad money karma. If you have an eighth house moon, mom has bad money karma. And it runs in the mother's lineage. And it's like they tend to have like a trauma-based relationship with money. And you'll notice it with yourself too. You'll notice this with yourself too when you have those eighth house placements. Like there's a little bit of a traumatic relationship that you have with resources, but they tend to be bad with money. So you got to heal that. And let me tell you, the best way to heal that eighth house energy is by helping other people and healing other people's stuff. So let's say you have an eighth house moon, right? And you struggle with depression and you struggle with like emotional trauma and your mom was never there for you and you struggle with a relationship with women and you have trust issues with your mother, right? You have eighth house moon. Well, this is what you should do. To heal that, become a therapist. Work with women, work with children, work with mothers, okay? And also so do that or work with other people financially, either emotionally or financially or mentally. Because you're going to clear that karma. By you helping others heal that energy, you help heal yourself of that, you free yourself of that, and you liberate yourself from the shadows and the low vibrational energy of the eighth house. Okay? And you got to move away from addictive energy, from obsessive energy, from like, obsessive compulsive energy, because that's also the eighth house. The eighth house is about addiction, the 12th and the eighth. And it's about obsession and it's about not knowing when to let go of things or not knowing how to clear shit out and let shit go, and also take care of yourself because the eighth house is one of the health houses. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. What advice for the eighth house sign? Yes. It's giving, healing others with their money. Yes. Become a financial advisor. Go work at a bank, help people with their with rebuild credit. You know what I mean? Like, um, yeah, those things like that. Also working with people like in intimates, helping people transform or change their identity too is an eighth house sun thing. So like that's what I really do think eighth house people, like if you're not going to be an occult worker, if you're not going to be a tarot reader, if you're not going to be like like a healer, like a spiritual healer, or if you're not going to be like a, you can even be like a masseuse, like things like that, physical therapist, masseuse, a doctor, a surgeon. Sometimes eighth house is also like being a surgeon or being a doctor, being a dentist or being a nurse, those things as well. Um, if you're not going to do that, then be a therapist, become a counselor. Really, really, like I'm telling you, eighth house, seventh house people are the best counselors, are the best therapists. Water signs too, water signs, water signs. Yeah, do that, do all those things. Let me see what people said. I'm getting my yoga certification, tarot astrology. Love that for you, Pluto. You do yoga. Yep, that's great. Yep, ancestral veneration is good for them. Yep, eighth house. Yep. And if you have anything at houses 4, 8, and 12, you want to do ancestral work. Also, these are the occult houses, right? So people that have 8, 12, 4, you got a lot there. Or even if you have a lot of water sign in your chart, like myself, I'm a Pisces rising with the Scorpio stellium. These are the houses of the occult, of spirit, the houses of mediumship, the houses of intuition. These are the signs and houses of intuition, the water signs and houses 4, 8, and 12, right? And so these people are psychic, they're intuitive, they are spiritual, they are deep. They're also able to identify other people's traumas. So, when you have a lot of 4, 8, 12 stuff, you know what people need. You can feel into other people and you're like, okay, this is where your trauma is at. This is what you got to work on. And you help people transform and change. It's an eighth house thing. Um, and I'm a Scorpio stellium. So what do I do? What does my work do? Right? My work, I transform people. I change people, whether I realize it or not. Whether you realize it or not. When you get a reading with me, and when I'm giving you downloads and you're getting all the chills and all the goosebumps, you are experiencing my Sun, Mercury, Pluto conjunction in Scorpio. And what I'm doing is I'm transforming and changing you without you realizing it. You're like, what the fuck is happening? Oh, my body and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm a new person. And oh my God, I got this reading by you and my whole life started to change. 2, 3 years later, my life looks totally different. Because that's what I'm here to do. The way my chart is built, like I'm here to be like, listen, my love, look at this is what change looks like. This is what I see for you. This is what life, this is what spirits, what divine wants for you. Do you want that for yourself? Okay, awesome. Let's make it happen. You know what I mean? Like that's what eighth housers do. That's what we're doing. That's what Scorpio energy, eighth house energy is doing. Is transforming and changing people, right? It's about helping people evolve, helping people move through death, right? And you also see a lot of eighth housers, they work around death energy. So they're working or at a funeral home. They're working at a cemetery, they're working at a morgue, they're working around, they're working also in like traumatic spaces. So they're working at the hospital, in the emergency room, right? They're doing surgeries and operations. Like this idea of the eighth house, like working with death, being a medium, working with the other side of the veil. Like these are all eighth house things. Witchcraft, that's all. Herbalism. Herbalism is like more of a Virgo sixth house thing. Like healing and herbalism, that's like a sixth house thing. But these are the sixth house and the eighth house. Let me tell you, they get so much flack in the 12th. They get so much flack, these houses, right? Are they get so much negative, like there's like a lot of negative perspective that people have around these houses. But these houses are deeply spiritual and powerful and they're magical. And they create healers. They create psychics and intuitives and astrologers and tarot readers and things like this. And a lot of because a lot of people that have these, like when you got a lot going on in these houses, 6, 8, and 12, you feel a disconnect with like the everyday world. Like you live in your own reality. You live in your own life. You have your own like reality that you live in. And you're like connected to different realities or different layers of reality that other people are not, that other people cannot see or other people cannot access, right? And so people come to you because you're a bridge to other worlds. You're a bridge to other realities. You're a bridge to other possibilities, right? You can see beyond. That's the beauty. So your displacement, you're just and you feeling like an outsider in the physical world is also a blessing and a gift because that gives you the power to tap into other realities in different worlds. Does that make sense? And like, yeah, because these are very isolated houses. These are very isolated houses. They're very lonely houses, 12, 6, 8, and 4 house, fourth house is like that too. When you have a lot going on there, these are houses that are very private, they're very isolated, they're very lonely, but they're in their own world and they're able to connect to other worlds, right? These are the houses of Oracle, the Oracle, and things like this. We just got to be mindful though, because you know, there's a certain level of purification or inner work that you got to do so that you can really become the best eighth house, sixth house, 12th house type of person. You can really allow those energies to like manifest, in the best way possible. So, clearing out your addictive habits and behaviors, going sober, you know what I mean? Being really healthy, taking care of yourself, taking care of your body, getting enough sleep, you know what I mean? Developing faith, connecting to God, connecting to spirit, whatever it is, however you want to do it. Hinduism, Buddhism, you want to just, connect universal consciousness. You want to, work with the fairies and the dragons and all that. However you want to connect to spirit. Spirit is multifaceted. The divine God there's many layers. There's many paths that go back to the creator. There's many ways to get back to spirit. You know what I mean? And you just got to figure that out for yourself, what that means for you so that you can align with those energies. You know what I mean? Yeah, I've struggled. Listen, I have Sun, Mercury, Pluto together in Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio stellium, I'm an eighth house Mars. I've struggled with addiction. I still struggle with addiction. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Yeah, I'm a very obsessive, compulsive energy. Okay, like I'm very. It's that Sun, Pluto, Mercury that I have together. Um, but the beauty of that energy is it also makes me incredibly psychic and very intuitive. And one of the things I tell people because I have Sun, Pluto, Mercury together is like the things that I experience are like 10 times more intense than like what other people experience. Like I can go through a heartbreak, but it feels 10 times more intense than like what someone else is possibly going to experience because Pluto amplifies everything for me. Pluto deepens everything for me. Pluto makes everything seem more intense or more important than it actually is. And so that's one of the things I've been having to like learn around my own chart, especially because I'm a Pluto person, is to like not everything is deep. Not everybody has a motive. Not everything is calculated. Like not everything, sometimes things just are. Sometimes things just happen. Sometimes people do things, right? Because of negligence of good, right? Not everything has and this is one of the things I've had to realize as like a Sun Pluto person in Scorpio, Sun Pluto Mercury Venus in Scorpio is like I'm very intentional and I'm very deep and everything is very profound and everything is very deep and a feather can fall out of the sky and for me it's so meaningful, but for someone else it's just a feather falling out of the sky, It doesn't have to be this like whole thing, you know what I mean? This man didn't write me today, and I'm fake going through a heartbreak. That's funny. My mind especially. Thank you, my love. Yeah, I'm very honest, I'm a very vulnerable person. You know what I mean? I have the Sun, Venus, Mercury, Pluto, Scorpio in the ninth. Oh, you have yeah, we're very similar. I have Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Pluto, but mine's in the ninth house. I don't have it in the 10th because I'm a Pisces rising. So, you must be what are you? You're an Aquarius rising? Scorpio. Wait, no. Scorpio. Yeah, you're an Aquarius rising. You must be an Aquarius rising with us with the 10th house Scorpio sun. That's great. I love that for you. Your intense emotion. Yeah, I get pretty scary, Like I could be pretty scary. Definitely scared. I've scared a few guys away because once like I'm sweet and I'm nice until I'm not. And I'm really trying to like I'm just such an intense, passionate person. I have Jupiter and Aries. I have an eighth house Mars. I'm a Scorpio stellium. I have a Capricorn moon. I'm just very intense, and sometimes I think it's my energy is just so strong and so over. It could be a little overwhelming for people. People don't know how to handle me, you know. I need a handler. I need a man that knows how to handle me. Cause I'm a little rough around the edges, okay? I have a Capricorn moon, I'm a Scorpio. I'm sweet and nice until I'm not. Like, and once I get wronged or once I like feel jaded and stuff like that, and once I like once someone gets on my bad side, ooh, it could get real bad. I'm trying to, I don't know, only if they deserve it though. I'm trying to be a little more nice, trying to be a little more nice and stuff, but sometimes it's just like, come on, people. Ugh. But the other thing I have to acknowledge is that I do have really high, I have really high, like high standards. I have really strong sense of like ethics and morals. It's because I have a ninth house stellium, and the ninth house is the house of like morals and ethics. So the ninth house is the house of righteousness. And you'll see that when people have a strong ninth house going, they have like a lot of planets up there, the North Node up there, they have sun, moon up there in the ninth. They'll have like their own moral code, and they'll be very faithful, and they'll have very strong beliefs, very strong opinions about things, and they'll feel very connected to that. And I feel that very deeply with me. Like I have very strong morals and ethics. Like I like this is what like my sense of right and wrong is very absolute and very clear. Like I know what's right and I know what's wrong, and I have this very strong sense of that, and it's a ninth house thing. But with that, what makes it so difficult is like because my moral code is so strong and it seems it's like so high, like not many people, even myself sometimes, I'm not able to live up to those expectations. So I'm trying to be more realistic and give people permission to be human. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the big things. Like when you're on the spiritual path, or when you're someone that is when you're a Jupiter person like me, or you're a ninth house person like me, you have really strong morals or ethics. You got to also allow people to make mistakes, and you got to realize that people are human, and it's like we got to give people the opportunity to be human. I think we have really intense we hold just a lot of expectation with people, and sometimes those expectations are like unrealistic, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't give people wiggle room to just be themselves and be human, and make mistakes. And I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, we all make mistakes and stuff like that. So I think sometimes, when we're on the spiritual path, and even like the kind of the righteous moral energy of the spiritual path can also disconnect us from our humanity. It can. You know what I mean? To where we're like, yeah, we're divine creatures, but we're also animals. We're also part animal. We're also very animalistic. We're also, human beings. We're not perfect and things like that. And sometimes we gotta allow ourselves to be imperfect. That's very important. And give ourselves that grace and give other people that grace too. You know what I mean? My father calls me Mother Teresa because of moral code. Yeah. As an Aquarius sun, I'm like, we're just being human. You're back with a guy who treated you weird. It's okay, figure it out. LOL, love is love. Exactly. We're animalistic. Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes we just need to understand that, we're human, we're animals, we make mistakes. That's also a part of who we're divine beings, but we're also in these animal bodies, and we're also living in this physical reality that has a lot of challenges and a lot of difficulty, and sometimes we do things out of survival and stuff like that. We do things out of trauma. We do things because we don't fully see or understand things, right? We do things out of ignorance, which is another shot, which is another shadow of people that lack a strong Jupiter, or that don't have a strong ninth house, or they have an afflicted ninth house, is like this like pessimism and negativity, and this kind of like pessimism, negativity, but lacking clarity when it comes to like truth and morals and ethics, and being ignorant. Ignorance is a when people have a weak Jupiter, they have an afflicted ninth house. Um, they can be a little ignorant, and they can have ideas or beliefs that are very closed-minded or very prejudiced or very biased. And we see this today. We see this with a lot of the religion today, right? People thinking or believing that they're being loving and good and stuff, when they're being prejudiced and judgmental, and they're being um, morally impure, really. Unfairly judging people, being racist, being discriminatory. That's not what the divine is about. That's not what spirit is about. That's not what religion should be about, right? Entitlement, superiority, which can be a ninth house thing, which is something I had to work through when I was younger. feeling like I was smarter than everyone and more entitled and more privileged. And it's weird. It was really weird the way that superiority complex. I had a superiority complex growing up, and when I was reading about the shadows of the ninth house, that's the ninth house is this idea that I'm better, I'm more righteous, I'm more superior. And you see this a lot with like I don't know, have any of you like gone to like communion, or have you interacted with like a priest or anything like that? They have this like they walk around this like superiority sometimes, or they feel like they're more special or more privileged, or they're more chosen, or they're more godly or more divine. That's all fake. That's all shallow. That's all false, right? Like, because true spiritual beings, true spiritual people, under true spiritual understanding knows that all of us are created equal, and that no one person is better than the other, right? And with it when it comes to God, right? And our relationship with spirit and divine gets strengthened, or we become more chosen when we cultivate that relationship with spirit, when we walk the spiritual path, when we live in alignment with, divine morals and divine ethics and things like this, right? You struggle with the tire with ninth house. You have Chiron, and yeah, Chiron in the ninth house. Yeah, that's about healing, right? The ninth house is really about healing our relationship with faith, healing our relationship with the divine. A lot of people that have a ninth house Chiron, ninth house Saturn. Well, actually, no, I don't know. Saturn in the ninth is actually about spiritual mastery. And there's been a really interesting pattern that I've noticed of people that have Saturn in the ninth. They become like they may start off being very pessimistic, but then they become very like spiritual masters. They become very wise later on in life, Very interesting thing with the ninth house. But yeah, if you have an afflicted ninth house, you have the South Node there, you have Chiron there, you have Mars in the ninth, okay, you have Saturn there. Um, you have to kind of work through, you have to heal your relationship with spirit and the divine. And a lot of times that shows up with trauma, with or woundedness around religion too. So another thing with like the Chiron and the Saturn in the ninth, a lot of people that have an afflicted ninth house, they grew up with a religious understand. They either grew up with no religion or no faith, or they grew up with faith or religion that was used against them, or that was very judgmental. So they could have grown up Catholic or Mormon or things like this. It's like it's like really easy to call out too. Like when I'm looking at a chart and I'm reading and I look at Saturn in the ninth house or Chiron in the ninth, I'm like, oh, were you raised like Christian or Catholic? And was that a source of woundedness for you? Do you have like religious trauma? And sure enough, yeah. It's like very, very, very common with those placements. All right, my loves. Well, we have gotten really off path, but it was a pleasure sharing this with you guys. I just got the message that my dog is ready. I gotta go pick him up. He just got groomed. So I'm gonna go pick him up because they have him over there. They're holding on to him. And I'll take a picture so you guys can see him. Um, yes, having Aquarius ruling the ninth is like having Saturn in the ninth. Yes, yeah. If you have Capricorn Aquarius in the ninth house, that is also kind of like having Saturn in the ninth. Yeah, because Saturn it rules your ninth house. So that is what is that? Gemini rising and Taurus rising. I think this is also why Gemini and Taurus tend to be uh they tend to be very like pragmatic with faith. Taurus rising, Gemini rising. Taurus Gemini people tend to be a little bit like they question religion. They question God. They question the priest. They could play devil's advocate. And they're not gonna just be like they're gonna go to a church, or they're gonna when they experience like gurus and spiritual people, they like have a little bit of like they're not just gonna like willingly believe in it. They're gonna like question it. They're gonna hesitate. There's gonna be a little bit of like, is this person really, are they really about that life? Like they're gonna scrutinize, they're gonna scrutinize religion and faith. They're not gonna just like believe in it. They're gonna question it. There's gonna be a little bit of doubt. There's gonna be a little bit of hesitation. There's gonna be a little because they're trying to like, right? The Saturn influence in the ninth house is like, how is religion or faith practically applied in my life? Is this helping me or hurting me? And that's one of the things that you should ask yourself with any belief system or any faith-based system that you follow. Does this system of faith or belief, does this religious do these ideologies, do the values of this religion or this faith, is it healing me? Is it helping me or is it hurting me? Is it making me feel better about my life and about myself, or is it making me feel more fearful, pessimistic, negative? Okay? Because if you're following a faith-based system, or you're following a religious system, or you're following a guru or spiritual practice or whatever, that doesn't make you feel good, that doesn't build you up, that isn't bringing positivity into your life, if it isn't bringing clarity in your life, it is not the truth. You got to keep searching. You got to quest because that's telling your spirit, your consciousness, your body's telling you, no, something about this is off. Something about this is not true. Something about this is a lie. Something about this is deceptive. Something about this is hypocritical. Something about this is unhealthy, right? And you'll see a lot of people, they'll try to force themselves to like be a good Christian or be a good, or try to force themselves to like this pastor or like this whatever, whatever, or to follow, even though their body and their consciousness and their spirit and their values isn't resonating with it, right? So you gotta like really, really search and quest for a belief system or faith-based system or even a spiritual practice that is unto you, right? It could just be your own thing. Um, that brings positivity into your life, that makes you feel good, that brings joy and optimism into your life. It brings a good perspective on life, right? Because if it's bringing negative energy, if it's bringing limiting energy, if it's confusing you, if it's making you question yourself and question your relationship with spirit, you move away from it. It's not true. It's not authentic. You see what I'm saying? And this is how I feel about, I mean, I love church and I love the Bible and I love Jesus, but do I love religion? No. Do I love Christianity, Catholicism? No. Are they extremely problematic for me? Yes. Are they hypocritical? Yes. Are they following Jesus' word? No, they're not in any way, shape, or form. Like they're so off path. Like it is crazy how off path they are, you know? Um, like all you have to do is just go read the New Testament. Go read the New Testament and take a look at how Christians and Catholics are living today and when their philosophy and what they're doing and how involved their politics. Just their politics will tell you enough. Okay? Their politics will tell you enough. You don't have to read that much. You don't have to read that deep into it or go that far to realize that there's a lot of hypocrisy with the church and a lot of just like corruption. It's corruption. It's spiritual corruption. It's spiritual moral corruption, right? And we got to call it what it is. It is what it is, you know? But don't go to that church and don't continue to align with that if it's not really giving you truth, okay? If it's not giving you truth. Question it, challenge it, and go seek elsewhere. Go look for other things. All right. I love you all so much. We're going to wrap it up here. Happy full moon in Cancer. Hug your babies, hug your kids. It's a beautiful full moon for any kind of creative, expansive thing. So if you want to manifest having a baby, if you want to manifest moving and getting a new home or buying real estate, buying property, if you want to manifest a new job, you want to manifest a new career direction, you want to manifest money, okay, the sun, Mars, Venus, sun ruling over the second house. We have Jupiter, moon together for this full moon. Do that, okay? This is a beautiful full moon for manifestation work, especially using the water element. So if you want to do, a water bath, a water ritual, if you want to go ahead and, you know, write a manifestation and put it in a jar of water and then like seal it, okay? Or even like speak it into a glass of water and then drink it. It's another cool way to manifest things is like you can just have a glass of water and you can literally like speak your manifestation into the water and then you drink it. Simple, easy. It's about the intention. It's about the action, right? Manifestation is action, is what we do. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're feeling, you're manifesting. We're always manifesting, whether we realize it or not. Hello, my love. How are you, Emily? Right? Manifestation, though, the reason why manifestation is a thing is because once we are intentional, we manifest. The idea of manifestation is being intentional about what your energy is calling forth and what you're channeling your energy into and what you're investing your energy into, right? If you are investing in your energy into this desire to become rich and famous and successful, if with enough of that energy invested over a certain amount of time and you gear your life towards that, all your actions, all your thoughts, all your emotions, and your faith, you believe it, you know it's going to happen, it's going to happen. But you have to get all parts of you, all different energetic parts about your existence in alignment to manifest fully and clearly. Okay. We have a lot of us, we have conflicting desires, we have conflicting ideas. We actually don't even know what we want. Crazy to me. I don't even know. How can you, like, it's so crazy to me. Like, you don't know what you want? You don't know, you don't want anything? You don't know what you want. You don't know what you want for yourself. You don't know, you don't have any goals, you don't have any dreams, you don't have any ambitions, you don't have any, figure that out, please. And don't be mad, right? If you don't know what you want, if you're confused about life, if you are just going through the motions and living, you're right, just a leaf blown in the wind. Don't be mad when life doesn't give you clarity or doesn't give you what you want or doesn't help you manifest. Because you're not even working with the divine, you're not working with spirit, you're not working with the universe on manifestation, on manifesting anything intentional. You know what I mean? You got to be intentional. This is why people that know what they want usually get what they want, even if it's negative. There are plenty of terrible people that are manifesting and getting what they want because the laws of manifestation, they're not good or bad. They're not responding to morals and ethics and our own sense of what is right and what is wrong. It's not, it's unfortunately, they're not. This is why a lot of bad people get their way. Because the laws of manifestation apply to everybody. Energy is energy. Matter is matter, right? It doesn't discriminate. Some people are just better at harnessing their energies and channeling their action and channeling their energy into certain goals or dreams so they get what they want. They manifest things. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and we got to get over the fear and also this idea that you don't deserve what it is that you want, right? If you don't feel like you deserve the things that you want, then good luck getting them. Good luck getting them because you don't even believe it. You don't believe that you deserve it. You don't even believe that you're going to have it. You got to work on your faith. Faith is so important. I just cannot express to you guys how important faith is. Like, you got to be so, your faith has to, you got like, this is one of the things I tell people and I explain this to people in readings. Like, my faith is conviction. It's like, it's a knowing at this point. Like, it's not like, oh, I believe in this. It's like, no, I know. Like, when people ask me, oh, do you believe in God? No, I know God exists. I know God is real. Like, it's a knowing. It's not, my faith is so strong that it's like, it's knowing at this point. It's just like, it's truth. It's my reality. And I'm never going to back down on this. You see what I'm saying? I'm never going to back down. Like, this is my truth. This is my faith. I live it every day. And it's a conviction. We got to get to that level of like, you believe this. This is your conviction. Like, this is you just this inner knowing. Ah. And even you got to start with yourself first and then you work your way out. You start with God, you start with that conviction and belief and faith in yourself, and then you start working on other things. You know what I mean? How to work on faith, baby. You got to start praying and start connecting to spirit. And you got to start doing all the things. Astrology, tarot, these are all ways of connecting to God, right? God talks to us. God talks to all of us. Spirit talks to all of us in different ways. We all have and cultivating that relationship with God, with spirit in your own way, right? You building that relationship with spirit and the divine in your own way. No one else can tell you how to build a relationship with God, right? People can guide you. There's blueprints. There's, the gurus that, go study Vedanta, right? Go study Buddhism, go study Hinduism, right? They're literally entire books. Go read the Bhagavad Gita, go read the Bible. They're literally entire books that will tell you. The Buddha. There's a whole eightfold, what is it? The eightfold path. There's a whole path, eightfold path, yeah, to enlightenment. There's written techniques, there's documentation, there's books that will tell you how to connect to God and spirit. But are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to make the sacrifices? Are you willing to do the prayers? Are you willing to do the meditation? Are you willing to you got to do work as well. Faith requires work. It's not just freely given. It's not just easy. Faith is hard. Being optimistic and positive and faithful requires discipline, requires self-control, requires abstinence, requires inner awareness, it requires shadow work, it requires truth and integrity. It requires being forgiving and loving. Loving men, right? These are hard things to do. Even if you read the Bible, If you read the New Testament, if you listen to all of Jesus' teachings and all of his instructions, all the most of the things that the ways he tells us to live, very hard, very difficult. Because your human nature wants to pull you the opposite direction, right? Being a person of faith, being a spiritual person, being a person that is kind of like connected to God, being a godly person is incredibly difficult. It's incredibly hard. What did Jesus say, right? Wide is the path that leads to destruction, but narrow is the gate, right? Narrow is the gate, and very few find it. What did he say? Many will look, but very few are going to find it. Very, very few are going to find it because it takes a really deep amount of personal, spiritual, worldly awareness to enlighten and to free the self, right? And to be faithful, to be a person of faith, right? Like it's a very hard thing to turn the other cheek when someone's right. What did Jesus say? When someone slaps you, you turn your other cheek. How many of us are turning the other cheek? Little to nobody, right? Because most of us, when someone wrongs us, what do? We want to get back at them. We want to fight. We want to engage, right? We right? Think about it. Think about it. It's very, very hard to no matter what religious philosophy or spiritual philosophy you try to follow, no matter how you try to seek faith and enlightenment, I will tell you right now, it's going to be hard. You're going to have to put in work. You're going to have to get to know yourself. It's going to be sad. And you're going to have to work through like these really deep things. It's not easy, okay? Becoming enlightened, becoming aware, just dispels ignorance and also dispels blissful ignorance. So you're going to wake up to truths, right? Once you follow the spiritual path and once you're really starting to connect to God, to the divine and spirit, you know what you're going to be made aware of? Your suffering. You're going to be made aware of your sadness. You're going to be made aware of your grief. You're going to be made aware of all the tragedies in the world. The weight of that. You're going to feel that. You know what I mean? And not everyone is capable. Not everyone's ready. Not everyone's capable. Not everyone's ready. A lot of people, they start walking the spiritual path. They start to awaken to the truth, and they don't like what they see. They don't like what they see. They don't like, and you know what? Primarily, you know what they don't like that they see. They don't like they don't like what they see within themselves. Because when you start following the spiritual path, you're going to be shown all your shadows, all your bullshit. Are you a liar? Are you a manipulator? Are you a deceiver, right? Are you do you live in a shame-based way, right? Like you're gonna start to wake up to your own shadows. And a lot of when people start to see themselves clearly, when spirit starts to show you who you are, a lot of people they're like, oh fuck that. Mm-mm. Nope, nope, nope. We're not doing that. I'm not looking at that today. I don't want to work on that. I don't want to address that within myself, right? I don't want to address that envy. I don't want to address that jealousy. I don't want to address that hatred, right? I don't want to address those unhealthy toxic desires, right? Because spirit will show you yourself. And a lot of people, once they start to see themselves on the spirit, they turn the other direction. They're like, fuck that. I don't want to see that. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to go there. I don't want to work on that, right? So they stop. Here's why. Narrow is the path, my love, or narrow is the gate. What is it? Narrow is the Yeah, wide is the gate. So look what Jesus said, okay? And I promise you, I gotta go pick up my dog. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this from Matthew 7:13. Enter, this is what Jesus says, okay? And I want you guys to think about this as it pertains to religion. Because you see there's a lot of followers, right? There's a lot of Christians, a lot of Catholics. But listen to this right here. Narrow and the wide gates. Enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. only a few find it. Only a few find it. This is a very simple one. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. Look at this, judging others. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Very simple. Don't judge people. And what do we see today's religion built on, especially Catholicism? Judgment. Shaming people, guilting people, judging people. Catholics and Christians of today are the most judgmental people ever. They judge you for your looks, they judge you for what you say, they judge you for there's just so much judgment, and it comes from a place of superiority. And it's all ignorance. It's right here. Do not judge, or you it's in the Bible. It's simple. But actually living it out, actually not being judgmental, abstaining from judgment, that's a hard thing to do. It's a very, very hard thing to do, you know? So, and I want you guys to really think about this idea of the narrow path when it comes to your own spiritual practice, because what I think Jesus is telling us when he's saying to take the narrow, enter through the narrow gate, what he's saying is to take a look at the spiritual paths or spiritual practices that are not being absorbed or consumed by the masses. Because whatever the masses are consuming, more than likely isn't righteous or isn't true. And we see this today with today's big religions, right? It's sad, but the majority of Catholics and Christians, right, are not walking in the divine light. They're not walking the path of Jesus. They're not following the way, which is what Jesus called it. He called it the way, right? His path to enlightenment was called the way. It had he this idea of Catholicism, Christianity, that came after Jesus, right? Those religions, they were birthed after Jesus, right? But he was not like, oh yeah, organize a religion around me. That was not his instruction. That's not what he told his whatchamacallit. He didn't tell his disciples to do that, right? That came after the fact. But I want you guys to get to embrace this idea of enter through the narrow gate, right? The narrow gate, which is the spiritual path, right? The spiritual path that is unique unto you, that is going to kind of look different than the status quo or what everyone else is doing. Because wide is the gate, my love. Wide is the gate that leads to destruction. And I tell this to Christians today. I tell them, like, listen, wide is the gate, okay? Narrow is the path and wide is the gate. And it's crazy because I've been judged for, I've been judged for doing astrology and tarot and all this and all that, and unfairly so. And it's crazy because it's like, this is how God talks to me. Like, God talks to me through the planets and through the stars. God talks to me through the cards. God talks to me in many ways through my dreams, like, right? But this is how I talk to, this is how I connect to God. I connect to God through the planets, right? Because I understand that the planets are doing God's work. The planets are God's employees. You know what I mean? And they're looking over us. They're our protectors. We've been worshiping the planets since the beginning of time. Human beings have been worshiping the planets. If you go all the way back, look at all the different cultures, right? They've been worshiping the planet since the beginning of time, my loves. We've been worshiping the sun. We've been worshiping the moon since the beginning of time. The moon and the sun. And these are not abstract entities, right? The moon and the sun are physical bodies out there, up in the sky. We can see them with our naked eye. They're an embodiment of God's magic and God's divinity. And there's nothing abstract about them. This is why astrology is not this woo-woo thing. No, astrology is based off of planets that you can go and look and see in the sky every day. They're real. There's nothing woo-woo, magical. Yeah, it's magical and mystical. Yes, the art and the craft of astrology is, but they're based off of planets that are physical, embodied beings. They're God's creations. And the planets are doing God's work. Is it not obvious? Right? To me, it's obvious. All this stuff is self-evident to me. To me, this is obvious. It just makes sense. Duh. To me, astrology is a given. I don't even question it. There's not a day that I wake up and I'm like, oh, it's astrology. And every day, astrology is the realest thing to me. Astrology is more real than most of this other bull. Everything in the world is fake to me right now. Everything is fake. Everything is fake. The government is fake. The money is fake. People are fake. Okay? Everything is fake. The only thing that's real to me, the only thing that gives me truth right now is astrology and tarot. Right? These are the tools that I use to see truth. When I feel like somebody's deceiving me and lying to me and being dishonest, what do? I pull cards on them because the cards will show me who they are and tell me the truth. Spirit doesn't lie to me. The planets will not lie to you. Everyone else will, though. Your pastor will, your dad will, your mom will, okay? Your parents will, right? Like your spouse will lie to you. Everyone else will lie to you. When you are really connected to spirit, though, and when you are really connected to the stars, you will never get lied to. Spirit, the divine, will never lie to you. The planets will never lie to you. They're very honest. They're very truthful. But you know what? We're not ready for the truth. A lot of us are not ready. We're not ready for the truth. We don't want to see the truth within ourselves. We don't want to see the truth within our lives. We don't want to see the truth within others. Because why? The truth is painful, my love. The truth is painful. Once you really start to see things as they are and see people as they are, you kind of wake up. It's sad. It's sad. Yeah, people lie, astrology doesn't. Yes. You know what I mean? These are the truth tellers for me, right? That's where I get truth from. And it's crazy because like even when I start feeling a little bit of doubt when it comes to astrology and stuff like that, there will be moments, right? It's not even doubting astrology, it's just like questioning whether or not I should like I'm like, oh my God, is this really spirit will go ahead, I'll get a text message from somebody, I'll get a confirmation, like something happens where all of a sudden I get reminded, wait a minute, Louis, no, 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 no. This is what you're doing. This is what you're here to do. This is your path. This is your mission. Like this is what you're here to do. Right? Like the moment I start to like doubt, right? Like the moment, or either I have a little moment of like, Spirit brings you back. They're like, wait a minute. You thought, let me show you, let me remind you. Okay. Yes, that's so true. And receiving the truth. Look at listen what now. I'm gonna go ahead and tag this, pin this comment, right? Listen to this. And receiving the truth means being a vessel that is also truthful. To receive the truth, you have to be true with yourself and true to yourself and true with others. Right? Being like telling the truth, speaking truth, embodying truth, being a messenger of truth. That yes, right? When you are an oracle, like myself, I'm an oracle. I'm an oracle. That's what I do. I'm an oracle. So what I do is I deliver messaging from spirit, whether it's coming from I'm using tarot as a tool, I'm using astrology as a tool, it's coming from the planets, whatever. I'm a messenger. And the responsibility of an oracle is to give truth, even if it's cold truth, hard truth, difficult truth, which is something that I have to do a lot with my work. That's why it's like I don't think everyone has the stomach and I don't think everyone has the integrity to be a tarot reader and astrologer. Everyone does, but they have to work on it. They have to cultivate it. Because if you're someone that doesn't live in an honest way, if you lie to yourself, if you lie to others, and that's like a regular thing that you do, you're not going to be able to do tarot and astrology for other people. You're not. Because you're going to be lying to people all the time. And you're not going to know what's a truth and what's a lie. And you're going to like be telling people what they want to hear and things like that. You know? And this is why I stay busy is because people come to me and I give them truth, even if it's a cold hard truth. If I see something that's like not okay, or that's unhealthy, or that's like, difficult, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie to you because spirit doesn't give me these talents and these gifts to lie, you know? And that's one of my biggest pet peeves. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is people lying. I told my friend, I had to tell a friend, few days ago, don't lie to me. I know you're my friend and I love you and we've been friends for a long time, but I got enough trust issues. I got enough liars in my life. Don't do that. Don't lie to me. You can be honest with me. I'm not gonna judge you for your choices, your actions, your decisions. I'm not gonna judge you. But don't lie to me. Please don't lie to me because once you lie to me, I lose a lot of respect for you. My dad, Gilbert is wait. I know. Go pick him up for me, yeah? I'm gonna go get him right now. Don't lie to me. Okay, my loves, I'm gonna wrap it up here, okay? Got a Lizzie with a rising is that. I had to get on the pulpit for a second. I had to get on the pulpit for a second. Let's see what, why am I preaching right now? Let's see where oh, the rising's on my Jupiter. That's why. I have Jupiter at 23 degrees, Aries, and the rising's at 19. And also my ninth house, look at the whole stellium's in the ninth house right now. So the Capricorn stellium is in the ninth. So that's why I transition. And also Moon Jupiter together. So we have Moon Jupiter together. You guys should hop off this live. Okay, I'm gonna tell you what you should do right now, okay? Hop off this live. I'm gonna go pick up my dog. But you guys should go ahead and do some manifestation work. Go and write down some things that you want to manifest. The moon and Jupiter are in the sky together right now. If it is dark wherever you happen to be out in the world, you can go out in the sky right now if you're able to see the moon, and you'll see the moon Jupiter together in the sky. Maybe, oh no, no, it's too dark over here, or it's too light over here. It's the middle of the day over here. All right, my loves. I love you all so much. Yeah, pray, meditate as well. Like, let this day be a spiritual day. Let this day be a sacred day. Like, Moon, Jupiter together in the sky today. Take some time to hug your mom, hug your family. Take some time to connect to spirit today in whatever way you want to. I pull cards every day, so that's a daily practice for me, pulling cards and just kind of tapping into what spirit wants from me. I still got to do a New Year's spread because spirit, I'll try to do a New Year's spread for myself, and spirit was like, "Nope, we're gonna talk to you about some other things." And I'm like, "Okay." But I love you all so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Happy full moon. I'm gonna go ahead and post this. This is also recorded and it's gonna be posted to my YouTube as well. Okay? So I love you all so much. Have a blessed day. Take care of yourselves. Everybody that hung out over the last few hours, thank you for being here. Everybody that donated, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Deuces, peace. I'll see you guys on Monday for the week ahead, okay? I'll see you guys. Bye.